Welcome into Extra Innings here on 105.3 The Fan, the home of your World Series champion Texas Rangers. After the Rangers fall in the first game of a 3-game set against the Philadelphia Phillies in Philadelphia. My name is Reginald Atatula, joined alongside by Chris Arnold.
Got you, Dan.
And we got Mike Peasley here with us as well, as let's break down a little bit of what happened in the course of this 5-2 loss for the Rangers. One of the most notable parts of this is that your Rangers fall to 24-25, which puts them below 500 for those of us that are, know a little bit about math. And obviously the big notable part about that is the first time in Bruce Bochy's tenure that the Texas Rangers fall under 500. What does that say about this team, Peasley, that for a whole year and some at this point, year and a quarter, just about, they had stayed over 500?
That they had played better baseball than what they have this year.
Yeah.
Basically what it says. They're just not hitting right now. They scored 2 runs in this one today. They've now scored 4 runs or less in 10 consecutive games. I mean, they're simply not hitting. And tonight, they had so many opportunities. They went 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. Compare that to Philadelphia, who has been scoring a lot of runs. They went 4 for 7 with runners in scoring position. So it just hasn't clicked, and it puts so much pressure, on your pitching staff when you're only going to score, 3-4 runs a ball game. When you got a bullpen that, outside of Kirby Yates and David Robertson that you can't really depend on, you're going to have kind of nights like this. You're going to have stretches like this right now. So they're in a little bit of a rut. And Seattle's starting to turn it around a little bit. So Seattle's winning right now over the Yankees 6-3. So if that holds, now the Rangers are going to be 3 games back of Seattle. It's a difficult time right now.
It's a difficult time, and they're going up against the best team in baseball right now. Phillies got 35 wins. Rangers, Suarez, the best pitcher in baseball. Rangers hadn't lost to Philadelphia in, 10 years? Mm-hmm. But here's the kicker. This is why I want to pick your brain. It seems like the Rangers have problems against lefties. They can't hit off of lefties. Suarez is a lefty. I heard that some managers, after they got the data from April, they've been saying, okay, we'll adjust our lineups, our pitching staff, so that we get a lefty against those Rangers. And is it solvable if Josh Young returns?
Josh Young's not going to be back for
a while, right?
Quite a while, Chris. Maybe not until July. So, they definitely miss him. That's the guy that's a 30 home run hitter, your number 5 hole hitter. But you don't have him. The thing that's puzzling right now is what has happened to Ezekiel Duran's power. He's got all but 2 of his hits this year have been singles. He's got 2 doubles. He has no home runs. This is the guy at the beginning portion of last year that was hitting, the ball over the fence. And now he has suddenly lost all of his power.
No power in the bat, but the power in the arm.
That was a great throw.
Great throw. 98 miles an hour?
Yeah. Woo. So, and you take Mitch Garver, who he had last year, big right-handed hitter out of your lineup as well. You take Josh Young and Ezekiel Duran as well, and that partly explains some of those struggles that the Rangers have had against left-handed pitching. The good news is, guys, 5 straight right-handers going against the Rangers starting tomorrow night. I do need to say that Rangers Extra Innings brought to you by Uber Eats, delivering home run deals to your front door all season.
There you go. And make sure you get involved with Rangers Extra Innings on the text line, 877-881-1053. We're here to have your conversations as well as the one that we're having right now. And, the power all the way around on this team has not been there. I mean, you can look up and down, obviously, this lineup. But even looking at the slugging on, the score sheet today, and one name has a big number when it comes to that slugging, and of course it's Derek Hill, the debutant on the day, of course. Very small sample size, but he looked incredible when it comes to, obviously he started 2 for 2 and then he gets on base with a walk, steals a base in the course of this. Like, does Derek Hill represent kind of something that maybe the Rangers might need to get going? Obviously, just kind of some fresh blood in there, but then also getting going on the base paths as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure because the Rangers need to get Evan Carter back in the lineup. I mean, I think Derek Hill was up today just because a lefty was on the mound. So I don't know how much Derek Hill is going to play. He's more of a 4th or 5th outfielder, but give him credit. And he'd been tearing it up at Round Rock, too,
yes,
guys. He had been hitting .333. I think he had about 8 home runs, 22 extra base hits in about the 32 game span. So
I know that OPS was over 1,000 points.
Yeah, he had been swinging it really well, and he comes up, and as you mentioned, Reggie, gets the single, the stolen base, the run scored, had a couple knocks today. So he did really well, but Rangers got to get Evan Carter going.
And you also notice that Corey Seager got a home run. What was his 9th of the season?
7th.
And hit some fans food or something, some nachos or a hot dog. Jared was saying in the game that he thinks Corey Seager has found a swing back and he seems almost back to normal.
Yeah, I've seen that too. The last three weeks or so, Corey Seager is starting to hit the ball like we saw Corey Seager hit the ball. And now, granted, he struck out 4 times today,
right,
and struck out at the end of the game on a ball that bounced. So he's not completely all the way to where he was, World Series time last year when he was hitting everything in sight, but he's much better than what he was in the first month of the season for sure. They just need more guys around him to get hot.
Yeah.
And of course, Adolis Garcia's missed the last couple of games with that forearm issue.
Yeah.
He remains, day to day. So you take Adolis Garcia out of this lineup as well, you're going to struggle to score runs, and that's what this team has been doing here.
One of the things that was nice during the course of this before he left the game, John Gray had a fantastic outing. He looked like he was doing fairly well in his 5 innings of work. Unfortunately, though, Bruce Bochy lets us know after the game that he left the mound with some groin soreness.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I mean, this is a rotation that can't really stand. I don't know if it's possible to get any more injured, and yet here we are with a little bit of a concern here. Like, where do we go from here mentally?
Well, the good news is Dane Dunning returns tomorrow.
Yes.
So you get him back in the rotation. Nathan Eovaldi shouldn't be too far behind him. Both of them through bullpen sessions before the game on Sunday. So hopefully, it was just precautionary measures with John Gray because he has been so good this season. He had an ERA of just over 2, which was the 4th best in the American League coming into this one. And again, that Phillies lineup is legit. I mean, they've got power up and down the lineup. So to hold them to just 2 runs over his 5 innings, he did as good a job as possible. And that's the frustrating thing right now, guys, with this ball club, is that with as many injuries as they have had to the starting rotation, the rotation has been this team's biggest strength.
Yeah.
Michael Lorenzen threw a great game on Sunday. Andrew Heaney has thrown the ball well. John Gray has been outstanding as well. And then you throw in Jose Urania, who goes from the bullpen to the rotation, and Urania has looked great. So you hate to be wasting all of this really good starting pitching, especially, with Eovaldi out and Scherzer still out and DeGrom out and Malley as well. If you would have told me that the Rangers rotation was going to be this good, a quarter of the way through the season, I would have been shocked if you would have told me the Rangers would be a game under 500. I really would.
Cole Winn and Jacob Latz are your guys that come in relief in this one, and that's where the Phillies are able to kind of open it up a little bit. This is a really good Phillies team, but like, how do we evaluate the overall effort for the Rangers? Because through probably the first 6 innings, I'm watching this game and I'm like, I'm enjoying what the Rangers are doing here. Obviously, runners in scoring position, or the hitting with runners in scoring position, maybe aside, but it felt like the Rangers were having a pretty good game against a really good Phillies team.
Absolutely.
Up to that point.
Effort-wise, they was right there. That ball game was right there. Seager hits the home run in the 8th inning, and you're only down by a run at that point, 3-2, and then you still get 2 more runners aboard. Nathaniel Lowe then hits a ball right on the screws, but hits it right at the left fielder. If he gets that ball down a little bit, the game is tied. But Cole Winn has not been very good. I think he's now given up runs in 6 of his last 7 appearances. Jacob Latz has given up runs in 3 straight. And again, that's a problem for the Rangers bullpen. Kirby Yates, David Robertson can't pitch every single day. I was really surprised, though, that they brought Winn back out in the 8th inning. After Corey Seager made it a 1-run game, I thought Jose Leclerc would be the guy, especially with the top of the order coming up in that spot, to allow Cole Winn to pitch that 8th inning. I did not like that decision.
Real quick, before we move along here on Extra Innings, you can always get involved, 877-881-1053. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification.
This is the exclusive home of Dallas Cowboys football. KRLD FM and HD1 Dallas Fort Worth. Let's go, Cowboys.
An Odyssey sports station.
Bees, last year, the playoffs, I really thought that the Rangers, had they made the World Series, were going to take on the Phillies. Phillies have been there the year before, and then Arizona just surprised them and surprised everybody. Is this team on a mission? I'm talking about the Phillies to get back to the World Series and win the thing like they thought they could last year?
They look like the best team in baseball, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you watch them play night in and night out, and I'm sure Ranger fans getting a chance to, hear them or see them in the ball game tonight. This is a really, really good team. I mean, they've got outstanding starting pitching with Suarez. We're going to see Wheeler pitching in the series finale, and we're not going to see Aaron Nola, but you find me a better threesome than that.
Yeah.
Going, especially with the power that they have and a healthy Bryce Harper. So much was talked about in the preseason in the National League. Who was the best team in the National League? Was it the Dodgers or the Braves? Dodgers or Braves? Well, Philadelphia says us. It is us. And Philadelphia is usually a slow starting team, but this year they have gotten out of the gate so quickly. I think they are 27-6 since April 15th. So, I mean, they're just playing outstanding baseball. And this is really the one team the Rangers did not want to see, considering how much the Rangers are struggling right now.
Yeah, and maybe this ends up being a little bit of a silver lining, but on the bump for the Phillies tomorrow is Juan Walker, who is just south of a 5 ERA. So maybe that provides an opportunity for your Rangers to get the bats going. But Pease, I asked Sean McFarland something similar yesterday. I'm gonna turn it to you. I'm making Mike Peasley the manager of the Rangers. Is there something that can be done to juice the offense, or is this just something? Hey guys, we got to swing the bats.
Shipping the new baseballs, right?
Yeah, there you go. No, it's something that you just got to go through, and they'll come out of it. I mean, these guys are too good of hitters. They've got too much of a track record not to be able to, and they just need to break out of it right now, and they just haven't been able to. And losing 5 out of 6 to the Rockies and the Angels, that kills you because you knew the schedule was going to get a whole lot tougher starting now with Philadelphia. Then you got to go to Minnesota, take on 3 games against the Twins. The Rangers were unable to take advantage of that softer portion of their schedule. But again, they've just got to find a way to score runs. When you're only scoring 4 runs or less in 10 straight games, that is really, really difficult for your pitching staff. So I'm not sure exactly what else you can do, but when you look at a lineup and you see Robbie Grossman in the 3-hole, it's like, well, there's some problems right there. So hopefully Adolis Garcia will be good to go tomorrow. Evan Carter, get him back in the lineup. They need to get him back on track right now because he has really, really struggled. 5 straight right-handed pitchers coming up, so maybe that's an opportunity for Evan to get going. So in terms of what Bruce Bochy could do, what I could do, what Reggie could do, what Chris Arnold could do, the players got to just find a way to fight through it. Just got to find a way to fight through
Manufacture some runs.
Yeah, it's manufacture runs. And that's something that they did not do in the 4th inning of today's game. They get a leadoff double. Ezekiel Duran, instead of trying to go, advance the runner over to third by hitting the ball to the right side, swings to the first pitch and hits a ground ball right to the third baseman.
Yeah.
You need a productive out. If you're not slugging and you're not hitting, you at least have to give me a productive out. Rangers didn't do that in that 4th inning.
Yeah, which is kind of odd because you saw that early on with Derek Hill, the debutant on the day. Of course, salute to him, and then of course it's always great to see Corey Seager go yard in the course of a game. Was there anything else that you noted during the course of this game, Peasley, that you felt like needed to be commented on?
Just the adventures of Ezekiel Duran out in left field. I mean, we saw him, make a great throw, and then we saw him having to reach back and catch fly balls. Now, give him credit, he made all those catches, but he had your heart in your throat with some of that. You can tell that he's an infielder playing the outfield right there. So it was an adventure out there in left field, let's just say
Speaking
that.
of the outfield, what's the latest? I haven't heard the latest on the return of Wyatt Langford.
They're saying that possibly he may be able to return without a rehab assignment. So we'll wait and see.
I only bring that up because he has had some success against lefties.
Yes, but again,
he's not the guy, though. Yeah.
When you can't put all of it on him to say, a rookie kid, hey, come be our savior right now. It's just going to take a collaborative effort from the entire team.
And also considering he wasn't going the best before he got injured, and so maybe a rehab start could, hitting against AAA pitchers could be something that could, be a jump start for him, get himself an opportunity to get the bat going before he comes back up to the majors and helps the big league club.
And one other note, Reggie, Derek Hill became the 41st different Ranger player to appear in a game. The only team that's had more players play so far this year is Miami. who's had 43. That tells you how many injuries the Rangers have gone through here in the first third of the season.
And that Ranger Suarez, who's the best pitcher in baseball, becomes the first player named Ranger to ever face the Rangers.
Right.
And he's undefeated right now.
Well, I feel like I need to have a stat here as well, and I'll salute Derek Hill, who's just the 4th MLB batter with multiple hits off of Ranger Suarez this season. He joins Ryan McMahon of Colorado, Lane Thomas of Washington, and Tyro Estrada of San Francisco. That's a really good pitcher that went plus 100+ pitches tonight, and Derek Hill seemed to have his number in a way on the night. So shout out to him. But unfortunately, the Rangers fall 5-2. They'll go back at it again tomorrow. It's Andrew Heaney on the bump for
Dane Dunning.
I thought it was
Dane Dunning. We did say that. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I defaulted there. But yes, Dane Dunning returns. A masterful pitcher, at least with the stuff that he has. He's done a great job controlling things, and so hopefully he can jump right back into it coming off the injury, and he can control his stuff, hit his spots, as he will be dueling against T1 Walker. I think he has a 4.9 something therein as an ERA.
Need to do some damage against Walker, especially with Wheeler waiting for you in the finale on Thursday.
That is correct. Of course, this is Extra Innings right here on 105 through the Fan. It's brought to you by Uber Eats, isn't it?
Delivering home run deals to your front door all season long, guys.
We always appreciate you, Mike Peasley. You have yourself a wonderful evening.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great show tonight.
I appreciate that. It's the Get Right coming up here on 105 through the Fan. We're getting ready in a playoff intensive environment in the DFW area. Let's go ahead and start previewing what will be Mavs Timberwolves next.
Can I say this?
Please do.
Buckle up, sports fans. This is the last night that you will not have, for the next 2 weeks, a Stars or a Maverick game in action. We're talking about all through the weekend. For the next 14 days, you'll have the Stars or you'll have Mavs. This is the last chance to preview it.
So, yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the basketball during the course of the evening because we'll have you till midnight. We'll talk about all sorts of things. And so hang out with us here on your home of the World Series champion Texas Rangers, your home of the Cowboys, your home of sports and fun, 105 through the Fan. We'll get to talking about Mavs Timberwolves next on 105 through the Fan.
Uber Eats and Uber Rides are teaming up to cover the bases for you and your family with 3 months of free Uber One membership for new members. It's easy to activate at joinuber1.com. And today is a great day to use your Uber One membership on the Uber Eats app because Cotton Patch and other participating restaurants are offering BOGO deals on your favorite meals. With Uber One, you'll also score $0 delivery fees. So run, don't walk, to first base. Activate your free Uber One membership at joinuber1.com.
The Polaris Ranger XP 1000 Texas Edition can help you rein in the Texas terrain. It's got an upgraded Gen 2 transmission, 29-inch tires, and pre-installed roof and winch, helping you be productive from dawn till dusk. Polaris, think outside.
CarsForKids.org. Right off the car, not the kid.
Donate your old vehicle to CarsForKids.org to make a difference in the lives of kids. Free towing from CarsForKids.org, plus a $50 gift card.
This Military Appreciation Month, Navy Federal Credit Union wants to celebrate our members who go above and beyond every single day. That's why we thought you might want to hear some special thank you messages from your friends and family.
I want to give a shout out to my brother AZ1 Archie Castillo.
Hi, I want to give a shout out to my friend Colin, who's currently serving in the Army. Thanks for all you do. Happy Military Appreciation Month.
And from all of us here, Happy Military Appreciation Month. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA.
When it comes to getting your pool ready for Memorial Day weekend, you want to get the job done right the first time. At Leslie's, we believe in providing the highest quality products, all in stock and at a great price. And with our price match promise, you can shop with confidence. When it comes to your pool, you shouldn't have to choose between quality and price. Come into any location for a free AccuBlue 10.
Has groceries. No, that's absurd. Hey, remember when you used to be Pepper Lady? Pepper Lady?
Wasn't it Cinnamon Sisters?
Basil Babes.
Saffron Squad?
Nutmeg Maidens?
Paprika?
No.
Nutmeg Maidens.
I just said that. Was it Spice Girls?
Doesn't sound right.
Was it Saffron Squad?
Back to the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Frankel & Frankel. If you've been injured in a car or truck wreck, call Frankel first. 214 or 817-333-3333. With Frankel & Frankel, there is never an out-of-pocket cost. They only get paid when you win. Frankel & Frankel, the go-to car and truck wreck attorneys in Dallas.
It's the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. My name is Reginald Datatula. I'm joined alongside by the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
We got Ross Lubinsky on the ones and twos, and you rolling with us after a Rangers loss to the Philadelphia Phillies at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, 5-2. John Gray, a fantastic outing. He goes 5 innings. He leaves due to a little bit of a groin soreness, I believe, is what it was described as. So that was a little unfortunate. Derek Hill makes his debut for the Rangers. He has a pretty nice evening for himself, but unfortunately, and also I should mention, Corey Seager gets a home run in this, but unfortunately that is not enough to get it done against the Phillies. Ranger Suarez throws over 100 pitches, does a fantastic job going 7 innings in this game. And so the Phillies win game 1 of the 3-game set. Tomorrow they'll be back at it again. Man, he's been fantastic.
Best pitcher in baseball.
Sub-2 ERA. I mean, I heard that at the start of the game, and I was like, I knew he was playing well, but you hear the ERA being sub-2, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. This is a problem. And it was a problem for the Rangers tonight.
I had a Scooby-Doo moment. I went, Roro.
Yeah.
Roro.
And rightfully so. He was out there dealing double-digit strikeouts for Ranger Suarez in this one, 10 Ks to be exact on the evening. 108 pitches was exactly what it was. So that is one game of the 3-game set. Unfortunately, that goes away from the Rangers, and for the first time all season, the Rangers fall below 500. They are 24-25. Believe they're 3 games behind the Seattle Mariners. And so not really the best place to be, but you got to see Corey Seager go yard in this one, and you got news that Dane Dunning will return for your Rangers tomorrow evening. He'll be on the bump, going opposite of Taijuan Walker, who has a pretty high ERA. So hopefully,
but here's a good part.
You can get that back and maybe get things rolling for the Rangers.
He's a right-hander, and
yes,
Mike Peasley said the next 5 pitchers are right-handers.
That is correct.
Because the kryptonite for the Rangers this season, they cannot hit off a lefty. Last year, they were 4th in the majors against left-handed pitchers offensively. This year, you got the injuries and the slow start by Corey Seager, and he was coming off of an injury in spring training. Not so much.
Well, it's a Get Right. You can always get involved. We always want you to get involved on the Frankel & Frankel Injury Attorney text line. That number is 877-881-1053. Again, 877-881-1053. You can also catch us on YouTube, 105 Through the Fan on YouTube, and twitch.tv/DallasFanCam. We got you to midnight.
Oh, yeah. Special edition extra innings.
Yeah.
If the Rangers got a game before the Get Right this week, we're giving you all the way to midnight.
Yeah, we got you this one. Tomorrow as well, we will do the same thing, which will be a little tough because tomorrow begins a 2-week stretch, or at least 2-week stretch. Obviously, if things go well,
straight days.
or maybe really poorly, we don't want to consider that. That might be shorter, but it's a one team then the other team schedule, where the Mavericks started off with the Western Conference Finals in the NBA tomorrow evening in Minnesota against the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's game 1. Game 1 for your Stars is the night after on Thursday evening against the Edmonton Oilers, and they will just alternate all throughout those Western Conference Finals. So we are going into, I don't want to call it a hectic, but what will be, I imagine, emotionally draining time of sports.
It's going to be an emotional roller coaster because the fans of both teams know this is the Western Conference Finals. This is the Dallas Mavericks' 2nd Western Conference Finals in 3 years. This is the Dallas Stars' 3rd Western Conference Finals in the last 5 years. This is like, oh man, the emotions are there. And if both teams take it to 7 games, I think everybody will be whooped. Because again, it's like, whoa. I mean, when you talk about 7-game series, you got highs. In other words, somebody has lost 3 games. You follow what I'm saying? And every game on a 7-game series and an emotional roller coaster. Let me tell you how big this thing is for the fans of both of these teams. You got both teams playing these playoff games in the same damn building.
That's right.
This hasn't happened since 2003 when New Jersey did. The New Jersey Nets with Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
Taking them to the NBA Finals.
Was that the Prudential Center at that point? Is what it was called? Why do I remember these things? I have no idea.
I think it was Continental. You have to look it up. It was something with a C, I think. But at the same time, the New Jersey Generals were also playing in the same damn building. And it had not happened in the same building since 2003. We're talking about conference finals. And no teams have played in the same building and won their respective NHL Stanley Cup championship and NBA Finals championship. It had never been done before. The Dallas Mavericks and the Stars have the opportunity. I'm not saying that they should, but let me tell you what's so good about this opportunity here. Do you realize I mentioned the Dallas Stars in their third conference finals in the last 5 years. Dallas Mavericks in their second Western Conference Finals in the last 3 years. The Texas Rangers won the World Series less than a year ago. Notice I haven't mentioned anything about the Dallas Cowboys, who haven't even been to the NFC Championship game in 30 years.
Well, you didn't have to do that.
I just had to bring that up because
I don't think you did.
You know, yeah, you're right. I really didn't. But I'm trying to let everybody who's not a Cowboys fan know this is the glory times right here.
No, absolutely.
And one other note on this, with all, like we're talking about this schedule, the best thing for the Stars fans and Maverick fans, unlike the entire month of May and parts of April, you don't have the teams playing on the same damn night at the same time.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was so hard to watch. You're watching two TVs at the same time just to watch the Mavericks and the Stars. You don't have to go through that.
Did y'all do the whole 2 TV setup?
I mean, I have 3 TVs already, so I might as well use the 2 TVs.
I had a left eye on one and I had a right eye on the other in this building.
Yeah, I
was going cross-eyed sometimes.
It is tough, but there's not
anymore.
There's always something you're giving though. But when you have a game every night, however, then it's like, all right, every night you know that there's that investment, there's the emotions of that. However, it's nice that you're going to have better timing on this. You're not going to have the
much better.
The late games that are taking you into 12, 1 a.m. Especially with overtime disallowable goals and that heartbreak or whatever as well. But here we go, man. Let's strap in. We got Western Conference Finals action for both your Stars and your Mavericks. We begin with the Mavericks, though, as they will be starting tomorrow evening. The Stars have yet another day to be able to prepare for theirs against Edmonton on Thursday. So let's start looking at what this series is. Let's start trying to break down maybe the X's and O's of the ways that this thing matches up between the Mavs and the Timberwolves.
Real quick, because you do love the names of buildings. It was the Continental.
It was the Continental because the
like
Prudential Center I think they opened in 2007. So I apologize for that one.
No,
you the OG. I should lean on you.
I used to go there.
Yeah,
I had to cover games there.
I ain't never been there.
Yeah.
So
by the way, it was raggedy. You want to hear something crazy about that building?
Absolutely.
It was raggedy. They moved it to Brooklyn at one point. But when it was in New Jersey, that Continental Arena, they pumped in fake crowd noise.
Oh, wow.
And it was too loud. And we had to talk over this. I'm doing the Fox Sports Southwest broadcast, what Skin does now. I was a courtside report. I was like, this is crazy. We're talking, the building ain't even full. And they're having this fake crowd noise in there. I'll give you a
Oh, I remember. The reason why I didn't remember that it was called the Continental Airlines Arena, because I remember when it was called the Izod Center. I remember that for a short period of time.
Yeah.
That's the one I remember too.
Mm-hmm.
Again, things that don't necessarily matter, but sometimes you got to stop down and talk about.
I only bring it up because I love the fact that Reg is really good at remembering names.
I don't know why.
Of buildings and stadiums and arenas.
Well, I'm decent because apparently I didn't remember the Continental Airlines Arena properly.
But like I said, I give you credit because again, it's not like you go to them.
You're right. I'm not going to them.
You just cover them and broadcast about it.
I'm a Wikipedia hound apparently, and
you could be on Jeopardy.
I think I could. I don't think that I'd be like a champion, but I'd hold my own. Speaking of holding their own, both of these teams are going to have a lot of holding their own to do, as this is quite the matchup, as you'd expect in a conference finals. It's going to be tough. You're going to get some really good teams. It's very rare that you get a bad matchup and it's just not that interesting. And so it's Mavs, it's Timberwolves, and we talk about the arenas, of course, the American Airlines Center, but we begin with the Target Center in Minneapolis.
I've been there a few times too.
I'm certain. And we're going to see the team go there. They're going to play tomorrow evening. And so what are you expecting to see? 877-881-1053 in game one, and maybe over the course of the series as well, trying to figure out what this matchup is. And I know one of the first places that we go is defense. Defense is going to matter greatly in these series. And the first place that things people start talking about when you talk about a matchup is, well, who's going to pick up the stars? And Anthony Edwards already did a little bit of
stars of the NBA as opposed to the stars that work at the NBA.
Yes, the stars in the game as opposed to the Dallas Stars.
Right.
I imagine who picks them up is the bus.
Yeah,
the bus driver picks them up from the airport.
And takes them.
Yeah, but like, you know, who's going to guard who? Anthony Edwards already put his hand up at the end of their Game 7 in the Western Conference semifinals that they played in, saying, I'm going to guard Kyrie. And so you have that one, but then how is this going to match up? Who's going to pick up? Who is going to be guarding Luka Doncic? And then how do the Mavericks match up with their star players? We talked about Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns, who is someone to be reckoned with. I think that's going to be an interesting thing on how do they end up matching up there.
What's wild about this is going to be like old-fashioned NBA, because the Mavericks, everybody knows in this town that the Dallas Mavericks have had the number one defense in the NBA basically since March. Last 20 regular season games, they've number one defense. But for the entire season, it's been the Minnesota Timberwolves, for those who haven't been paying attention. What's going to be interesting about this matchup is the Stars won't have the opportunity to go inside as much as they did against Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City didn't have bigs. Their bigs didn't really even care about offensive rebounds. They were like, okay, we'll give up through offense. We don't care about those. So the Mavericks try to have lobs inside the paint to their centers, and that's not going to necessarily happen for them.
Yeah, Oklahoma City definitely tried to take that away. If the Timberwolves want to try and take that away, they're going to have a much better time taking that away when you have Rudy Gobert in there.
It's crazy. This is where they're going to really miss Maxi Kleber. We don't know if Maxi Kleber is going to be available for the series. It'd be nice if he could.
And as of right now, there's nothing positive or negative. So I don't think he's going to start this at any time, but maybe during the course of this.
You won't see him in Minnesota, I don't think. I mean, if this thing goes 6 or 7, you might see a cameo. The reason Maxi's so important, people forget, but when the Mavericks went to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago, they had to go through Utah. And Utah had Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley. Rudy Gobert, who is the Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA this season.
4-time.
He had to go outside and guard Maxey.
Yeah.
They took him out of the paint. Well, guess what? He going to camp in the paint this year. This season, this series, he may be camping in the paint. So with no Maxey, in other words, with nobody to draw him out, I mean, it's not like Gafford's going to draw him out. It's not like Lively's going to draw him out.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a factor. The coach is going to have to figure some of these things out. Minnesota presents a really, really difficult challenge. There's nothing to do with the fact that the Mavericks went 1-4 against them in the regular season, because there was different kind of lineups. But you've got the new lineups with Gafford and P.J. Washington now, but you're Lively doing his thing. It's going to be really, really difficult defensively, to go against this team offensively, because they got all kinds of Naz Reid. I mean, they could put him on Luka and make him. In other words, Naz Reid could be just in the middle of the paint when Luka trying to drive. You're going to expect Luka to hit his threes, and he looked good again in Game 6 and Game 5. He looked good against Oklahoma City with those threes. But do you think he's going to just only shoot threes against Minnesota? I mean, I don't know, man.
I actually think
it's going to be tough.
I think Minnesota will be able to guard better on the perimeter. I think what'll be interesting, though, the Mavs are going to get into pick and roll. Everybody does. It's the modern NBA. Yeah. You mentioned Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert plays a lot of that drop coverage, meaning if there's a pick and roll, he'll just kind of sit back. And I don't think that he's going to step up to the level. So I think Luka Doncic, and I'm leaning on Istok Frankel, a fantastic analyst.
Yes, he is.
When it comes to these Dallas Mavericks.
He's in Slovenia right now.
But he does a fantastic job, even from remote. Yes, absolutely. And one of the things he talked about is Luka Doncic is going to have to be really good with what they call the snake dribble, or that hostage dribble, where they get this pick and roll, and then he gets that defender on his back or on his hip, and he just kind of plays that defender there, because he's going to have space between him and Rudy Gobert, because Rudy Gobert is going to sag off. In those places, I think it's going to be very important that you're able to knock down your mid-range and floaters from that place, or be able to create from that place. So that's going to be very huge.
The tricky part, though, and people who've been watching the game, and again, I'm thinking the Mavericks going to win the series. I'm not going to tell you the series number, but Luka, he's been hitting the front of the rim because he doesn't have the lift. And so it's going to be real tricky. If you're going to assume you're going to get Luka from Game 5, Game 6 for the whole series, I just don't know. That's the X factor to me. It's like, I don't know. What the Mavericks going to have to do is they're going to have to steal one of these first two games while Minnesota's recovering from this grueling 7-game stretch against Denver. But here's the thing about it. You're talking about defensively for Minnesota. Minnesota going against the world champions.
Yeah.
Denver Nuggets. They didn't let them score 100 points in the games that they won. And I'm talking about the games that Minnesota beat them, and we're talking about they beat Denver 3 times in Denver where the altitude's bad.
Yeah, and I mean, the Nuggets
with the
looked
reigning
gassed.
MVP.
Yeah, the Nuggets looked gassed.
That's what I'm saying.
The Timberwolves haven't. Like they've got some youthful legs in there.
This is what's so crazy about this. I'm going to say this for all Ranger fans, Stars fans, and Maverick fans. Unlike Cowboy fans. I feel bad for the Cowboy fans. This is not like you're supposed to win this series. Isn't it nice when you go through these playoffs? It's an emotional thing, by the way. But it's not like you go and say, well, we're supposed to win this championship. We're the best team in the league, and we had the best record. We're supposed to. It's our destiny. It's our right. Ranger fans were thrilled when they won this title out of nowhere. Nobody thought the Mavericks would go to the Western Conference Finals this year. You got a youthful team. Maybe they get it next year or even win it all next year. If they win it all this year, be like, oh my God, I'm so happy. If the Stars win it all this year, oh my God, I'm so happy. Unlike Cowboy fans are like, I don't believe it until they do it.
And I mean, there's reasons for that, right?
And I blame Jerry.
The time period. But getting back to these Mavs, I think we talk about Luka. Kyrie's also going to be very important because I don't imagine that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be attempting to guard him or take him out of the series in the same way the Thunder did, where they blitzed him. Although Chris Finch does blitz these guys a lot more, so maybe they do, send those 2 defenders. But it's going to be incumbent on Kyrie to show up more and maybe handle some of this offensive load. And then also,
maybe early.
Yes, absolutely. And another thing is going to be, I think there's an opportunity for a mismatch in a relatively small guard for the Timberwolves. His name is Mike Conley. He's a heady player. He's a veteran, savvy guy. However, he's not a defensive like stalwart. And I think that
he's coming off an injury. He was injured in the first.
That is true.
First round.
That is true. So it's possible that maybe they try and hunt him. The Mavericks do. On the other end, defensively, it's going to be important to make sure that you figure out how to match up with Karl Anthony Towns.
That might be the X factor for this series. I always thought he was the X factor for them in all of the playoff rounds. And I'm like Charles Barkley when I look at him. I'm like, he's got all this talent, but it's so inconsistent. It's which cat shows up determines how great they are. You follow me with that? Even that Game 7 win against Denver in Denver, his first half, he was horrible. Second half, oh my God, Cat came alive. He even had a follow-up dunk that basically sealed it for the T-Wolves when Denver was trying to come back. Cat's big guy. And sometimes he can be too silly, and I don't dislike the guy, even though there's a lot of Maverick fans just mad at him because he claims he's the greatest shooting big man of all time.
Right.
And I'm like, what about Dirk? You know what I'm saying? I can't let that go. He's not an unlikable person. He's a very nice guy. But dude, if he's serious, this entire series, he's gonna be a load.
Yeah, and
because he can spread the floor.
Anthony Edwards helps. Like he's that guy that has that gravitas, and he in a way has been a leader for Karl Anthony Towns and trying to push him to be great. That guy shows a lot because he can shoot, and then also he can drive a little bit. He can put the ball on the ground and attack. So he's going to be something that's important to keep on with because they don't have a lot of places where offense comes from.
Right.
So he is going to be one of those. And then, of course, Derrick Jones Jr. I think is going to be very important because he seems like a guy who could also who could probably pick up that assignment of Anthony Edwards.
Exactly. They're going to try him. They'll probably try some P.J. Washington on him. This is going to be serious. It's all about the matchups. Minnesota's a load. Vegas has the T-Wolves winning this series 65%. They say 65% chance the T-Wolves advance. But guess what? They haven't faced the Mavericks, this version of the Mavericks yet. Even though they went 4-1 against them. And by the way, I got a chance to see them in preseason. That's the team the Mavericks played in Abu Dhabi.
That is true.
I was over there with the Mavericks in Abu Dhabi, and I got a chance to watch how they were doing things and watch how they work. That's a team that has a lot of things going for them. But again, the Mavericks, this could be a Cinderella season for the Mavericks. I can't wait till we do a prediction.
We'll do our predictions in the next hour of the show. Right now, it's the Get Right here on 105 through the Fan. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Tuesday evening in the DFW. In the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1 has been going on this evening, and It's been a little spicy. You talked about how the Timberwolves are a relatively slight favorite in this Western Conference Finals betting wise. The Boston Celtics present a huge favorite in the East. And as of right now, with 5.7 seconds left in that game one, the score is tied at 117 apiece. The Indiana Pacers have really gotten up and down the floor, and they've scored pretty consistently.
You know what they're calling this game?
What's that?
The Larry Bird Bowl. Because Larry Bird was the superstar for the Celtics. They didn't want him to be their coach. He took his talents to Indiana, where he's basically been running it from coaching it back in the day to being in the front office and hiring Rick Carlisle, bringing him back. And so there you go. You don't necessarily have Carlisle versus Porzingis because Porzingis isn't playing yet, but you do have the Larry Bird Bowl. And right now it appears that the Celtics are playing with their food.
Yeah, look, there's always going to be criticisms levied about the Celtics
until they win it all.
And so this is a year where they're heavy favorites.
This is what I was saying about this. Right now, this year's Celtics are the Cowboys for the last 30 years. You're supposed to win it. You got the talent. Just because you've been this close doesn't mean anything. You better win this. That's extra pressure. Unlike Indiana, that's glad to be there. Unlike the Dallas Mavericks, the Dallas Stars, and the Texas Rangers, who are like, man, making everybody happy because nobody saw these seasons coming.
Well, we're keeping an eye on what's happening at the TD Garden as the final seconds of regulation are happening, and it looks like we're getting free basketball in the Eastern Conference. So we'll continue talking about that and more as the Get Right continues. We got you till midnight here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, let's go around the NFL, talk about some of the news and notes in the National Football League. We'll do it next on The Fan.
Coming up Wednesday morning on Sean and RJ, we need
Back to the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Classic Chevrolet and Grapevine. They're the #1 Chevy dealer in the world with more Silverados than anyone else. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Relax and enjoy the difference based on new Chevy registrations 2020.
It's the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Atatula here with you alongside the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rolling with us on this Tuesday evening in the DFW or wherever else you may be listening. One thing I always remember, man, folks listen wherever. Obviously,
Yes,
our
they
signal
do.
gets pretty far. I know that they can hear us in Waco, Killeen, all that. And then if you got that Odyssey app, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, you could be anywhere in the world listening to your home of the Cowboys and Rangers 105.3 The Fan. And we appreciate you doing that wherever you are and however you are listening. Right now, we are watching the Eastern Conference Finals. They are in overtime and about halfway through that. The Pacers actually have a 3-point lead, 120-117.
Trying to steal it.
But the Celtics are going to the free throw. Actually, 120-119, and that ties up with the front end of a pair of free throws by Jason Tatum. 2:27 left in that overtime period. We'll keep you up to date with what's happening there. I also did want to remind you that this weekend, we're going to be in Granbury, baby. We got a fan hang happening at the Revolver Brewing Brewery, I guess is the way that I should say that. In Granbury, it'll be, I know that for certain, Corey, Kevin of the Kansas City Masterpiece, Brian Broaddus, Bobby Belt, and myself will all be there on Saturday, 1 to 4 p.m. at the very least. Obviously, those things can stretch at times. But yeah, come out, show out. There's going to be a Wild Supplies Last giveaway of pint glasses, Tolo Revolver pint glasses, and it's a family-friendly event. So come out to 5650 Matlock Road in Granbury, hang out with us.
I might make it down there. I might because, first of all, I'm doing the fan jam with Will.
That's
Will
correct.
Chambers, so it depends on if I have the strength. And by the way, Granbury, I love Granbury. Man, they got that drive-through park. Where the animals and stuff. I took the kids out there a long time ago, and I think they also have some dinosaur pits and stuff.
Do they? Okay, well, I might need to see if I can break away from go watch some stuff. I don't know. Just playing. We want to hang out with the Tolos, and so that's probably presented by Alba Limo. So thanks to them
might
for
see
that.
A dinosaur coming to the bar like that. That buffalo, that big old buffalo that comes in there.
Buffalo Wild Wings, hilarious. All right,
how about a dinosaur down in Granbury?
Let's quickly go around the NFL here, get you some news on this evening. We begin by some reporting done by a reporter for The Athletic, Diana Rossini. She gave us a little update about Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, and him coming into this spring, I guess, as we head into summer. Lamar Jackson apparently looks different this spring, as he is intentionally down to 205 pounds, which is 25 less than what he played at 2 seasons ago at 225 or 230.
Who does he think he is, Mozzie Smith?
I should have seen that one coming. Last season, he played at 215. I don't know exactly why he feels the necessity to slim down this way. However, it seems like he is indeed slimming down. And he already was a relatively slight quarterback.
It wasn't like he was chunky. I don't understand.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what he's going for. I don't know if this is like a speed thing or agility. I don't know what have you. But I know that some people are like, "Hey, is he gonna be able to take those hits?" And one thing I say about Lamar Jackson, he kind of has an innate ability to know how to get hit. Like he never takes hits directly. They always kind of glance off of him.
He knows exactly how to do that.
But he is down a little bit of weight, so that's really interesting when it comes down there.
Oh, quick note from the 806. Appreciate you. It says that dinosaur place is over there by Granbury. It's at Glen Rose.
Okay, just a little hop, skip, and jump. We can make that happen.
Right same part of the town. Right, same in the neighborhood. Yeah, appreciate you.
So for one quarterback slimming down to another one, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt on the interwebs about Patrick Mahomes. As Patrick Mahomes there's a picture of him going around, him showing up at camp, and it looked like he got a little bit of that belly, like that dad bod belly. Maybe he's had a few brewskis in the offseason or what have you. But people are like, oh man, he looks out of shape.
Look out.
Which, I don't know, he's always kind of had that shape. He always looked a little doughy.
Exactly. I mean, come on. It seemed like when they win the Super Bowl, somebody would look, hey, look at Patrick. They had a picture out there, and Again, I'm not saying.
Yeah, I know he took his shirt off after the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm talking about.
And
I'm not calling him chunky, but I'm just saying it ain't like he looked ripped and had abs and stuff back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because at this current point, the players that we would consider the best in their two leagues, when you talk in the NFL and the NBA, are both guys that got a little bit of a doughy physique. Just a little bit of a doughy physique when you talk about Patrick Mahomes and then, of course, Nikola Jokic. But those, again, not the only quarterbacks that talked about weight. Tua Tagovailoa apparently also dropped a good 10, 15 pounds.
Now, he's always
this
looked
year.
a little chunky to me.
I think it's because he's short.
Yeah,
I think you get the short, you end up looking a little stout. But I mean, if you at his height, he was playing at about 230, 235. So yeah, I mean, he had a little bit of weight on him.
I weighed 210.
I wonder if that does anything for him as well. Again, I don't actually know what these weights are going to do for these guys, if they change it, good or bad or indifferent. So it'll be interesting to see as the season rolls around.
Speaking of weight and doing stuff a little bit, did you hear about what's going on with Micah Parsons?
Refresh my memory.
Okay. He's boxing now.
Yes, he is.
His whole deal is he's doing boxing training with his trainer, and he's doing this because he's like, you know what? Out there in football, you got to, attack. You got to be. It's like you got to have hand-eye coordination, all that stuff. So he's been working on some boxing things as well.
You know who Micah Parsons reminds me of?
Who's that?
The kid in the gifted and talented class, or the kid that has to be moved to the gifted and talented class because he's bored with stuff. Like he seems like he needs to be engaged in different ways than simply the run of the mill of what we do.
Notice how NBA All-Star Weekend, he played in the celebrity game and won the celebrity game MVP.
And I want it to be noted. I say that with no malice, no animosity, no negativity. He just seems like always wants something. Because remember, during training camp, I know that people kind of talked about like, he seems to not be engaged with some of these things. I think that the monotony of football can get boring for him.
He even fought. Was it last week? I saw him with some sumo wrestlers. Seriously, he was doing some stuff with some sumo wrestlers, and he's always purposely not been at the front part of the OTAs and the off-season conditioning stuff initially. And it's because, and he's always in contact with the Cowboys, letting them know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he's like working on stuff for himself, and then he starts beating people up in training camp.
Yeah, that's the thing is if he can blow by ends, he'll be fine. Although it gets a little interesting this year with Mike Zimmer coming in and the possibility of maybe him playing some off-ball linebacker. It's a whole different amount of, obviously skill set, but then a different amount of reads and responsibilities that he has to latch on to. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But of course, we got a lot of offseason left.
Oh yeah.
And obviously not at OTAs, but these are voluntary. When these things become mandatory, you're certain that he'd be there. And so that'll be something that we watch as time goes by. Something that happened in the Metroplex that involved NFL player. He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. His name is Rashee Rice. Obviously played at SMU. He had
Richland Hills.
Yeah, he went to high school Richland Hills. He had his the accident on 75, not too far from our building, and then also he had the incident of assault, or at least that was what was alleged or accused of him.
The Instagram photographer said he got contacted on IG, had him come back to the club 2 o'clock in the morning, and then punched him in the face. That's what the allegation was.
That is the allegation. CA up on it. And what we found out today is that man who did accuse Rashee Rice of assault has declined to pursue charges.
Wonder why.
So I don't know why. I can't speak to that.
I'm going to just say, Rashee, you better be going, whew.
Maybe he's going, maybe his people to handle it. I have no idea. I'm not trying to make any. There's all sorts of things that could have happened, but ultimately we know what the result is.
This did not need to go to court because that could be a career changer.
100%, especially with the circumstance that he's already dealing with. But Rice obviously still under investigation with DPD for
the drag racing on Central Expressway that did that. Man, for those who just heard on the periphery of that story, nobody gets seriously hurt, and there's some civil suits I'm sure that are pending. But the craziest thing about that blows my mind, because I've been up here on a Saturday at 6 in the evening looking down at Central Expressway. How could you even think you're going to drag race? I just can't even imagine it. It's like, how could you build up speed? But he did.
Yeah. And so at least there's one thing off of the wide receiver's plate, obviously still dealing with the other. And so Best of luck to all involved is all I have to say there. And you hope that everything comes out well. He has
Hopefully
been at
he will have
OTAs,
lessons
Rashi,
learned
right?
here.
That's the big thing.
That's what you hope.
You hope that he learns lessons and that he changes his behavior because he was doing some reckless things this offseason.
Extremely.
As we continue around the NFL, you know that the NFL loves expanding the game globally. They're really trying to do that in a big way.
Germany, London.
Yes, we've added we had the Brazil game in addition to the London games, and we're also going to have the Germany game, as you mentioned. And the NFL constantly looking to expand their international or head of international affairs. Goodness gracious, Peter O'Reilly said that the league at their meetings that Australia is among the markets being discussed to maybe host some regular season games in 2025 and beyond. He said, quote,
"Good day.
Australia is among a set, and it's not a small set of markets that we're looking at. Obviously, Australia has a big NFL fan base. They have media partners, clearly. And both the Eagles and Rams have global markets there. So that's something that you could possibly see, not this season, but the season after, or maybe even further, seeing some of those games in Australia.
It's possible.
It is amazing the way that the NFL is going to continue to try and squeeze money out of what they have here. They're so damn good at doing it, but I'm just like, imagine having what at some point would be maybe like a quarter of the season, if not more, played outside of the contiguous United States.
That's what they're going to try to do, even though that's not the football that the world loves. They love football, soccer.
That's right. But, I mean, if you could find a way to cut into that market elsewhere.
That's what they're going to do. I'm not knocking it. This is when you know it's real. When they have a live NFL in the Middle East.
Oh, yes. And, the
United Arab Emirates.
It is interesting that the NFL has not tried to tap into like a lot of sports. And, of course, maybe this isn't a sport that's all that conducive to it necessarily, but there's a lot of sports that have tried to tap in to the Middle East and the monies that are involved there, especially when we talk about Saudi Arabia. We've seen boxing and MMA in those instances. Obviously, you can see
NBA was over
F1.
there.
As you mentioned, you went
I was
with
over there for
NBA.
that, yeah.
There's a lot of people that are trying to
Golf.
reach into those markets. Of course, yes, absolutely. So, I mean, the NFL continues to try and expand and get bigger and bigger, and they've continued to make money off of it. So I can't really necessarily blame them for the ambition. But yeah, Australia.
214
NFL
says,
could be coming to you.
Surprised they haven't tried to play in Canada. They haven't played a race. They got the Canadian Football League up there, but they have played some preseason games up there. I was there when the Cowboys played the Buffalo Bills in Toronto.
Sure, and that makes sense. A very close market. I mean, basically,
and
right
at
next
one
door.
point, before the Bills got their new owner a couple years ago, there was word that they were going to try to move the Buffalo Bills to Toronto because it's so close. And I think John Bon Jovi was part of that ownership group trying to move him, or at least saying there was rumors that he was the one trying to move him. And John Bon Jovi was like, no, we're going to keep it in Buffalo. But there was a fear that his investors from Toronto were going to move it to Toronto.
So there you go. That's our Around the NFL here on the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. I was about to say we're final in the Eastern Conference Final, but we're game one, but we're not. It's currently 131-126. Still some time left on the clock there in overtime. Yes, Boston does have the lead. Thank you for helping me with that clarification. We'll keep you up to date with what's happening there. But coming up next on the Get Right, CA, we can do one of a couple of things. We can start getting our predictions for Mavs stars. We can talk about some first quarter MLB grades around the league and where around the majors and where your Rangers rank. We can also talk about maybe the 16 best players remaining in the NBA playoffs. Where would you like to go?
Yes.
All right. You text in 877-881-1053. We'll decide where we go next. It's the Get Right right here on 105.3 Fan. We'll do it next on The Fan.
The Fan is on YouTube. It's time for The Get Right on 105.3 The Fan.
Yes, indeed, it is the Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. My name is Reginald Dadatula. That is the voice of the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
We got Ross Lubinsky on the ones and twos, and you rolling with us on this Tuesday night on 105.3 The Fan, your home of the Rangers and World Series, or your World Series champions Rangers and the Cowboys. 105.3 The Fan. Thanks for hanging out with us. You can always get involved, and we want you to get involved on the Franklin Injury Attorney text line, 877-881-1053, where someone already sent one in, so we might as well dive into it. What are your predictions for Mavs versus Timberwolves and for Stars versus Oilers? Let's go ahead and get into it. 877-881-1053. We were watching the start of the Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA, where it was Celtics, it's Pacers. The Celtics, a big favorite in this series, but the Pacers came out, played some really good offense, got up and down, played with them, sent it to overtime. But the Boston Celtics were able to escape in overtime with a victory. I believe that's 133-128 is the final there. So game one goes to the Celtics in the East. Game one for the Mavericks in the West is tomorrow evening. Is that a 7 o'clock tip? Is that what we're looking at? 7:30.
Every game will be 7:30 Central Time, except for this Sunday when the Mavericks host the Timberwolves. It's a 7 p.m. start because ABC.
There you go. And so we will have all of those games 7:30, and that will be every other night starting tomorrow evening. And then of course the Stars get going on Thursday evening, and they'll take the opposite evenings as they take on the Edmonton Oilers. But yeah, what are your predictions for these series? Because man, we're about to get going here, and we talked about it's going to be a really interesting time. I've got some predictions from ESPN. At least we can start with the Mavs, I guess, here. I've got some predictions from all of the people in ESPN for the series and the series MVP, if you want to go that far. So CA, let's start with you, because I believe you already have a prediction or you already have let us know where you believe this series goes a little bit. Is it fair to say that you think the Mavs come out with the win in this 7-game series, or best of 7 game series?
In round 1, I picked the Mavs to beat the Clippers in 6. In round 2, I picked the Mavs to beat the Thunder in 6. In this series, it will not be 6.
Okay.
It will be 7.
All right.
And it's going to be the Mavericks.
Okay. All right.
I'm only picking the Mavericks.
So you got the Mavericks winning this series on Minnesota's floor.
This is so unpredictable. I would not be shocked at all if Minnesota won this thing. Because to me, they're the more talented, bigger team. Bigger. But there's something about this season with the Mavericks, the chemistry, the culture, the fact that these guys, it's like they know they're doing it for each other. You follow what I'm saying? It's not like, okay, Luka's going to bail us out. Okay, Kyrie and Luka are the stars, and we just got to try to fit in, get in where we fit in. It's like they're pulling for each other. There's so many subplots to this season, and they've come together so quickly. I cannot just dismiss it and say, well, they're just automatically going to lose, because Minnesota, to me, or to most observers, are just a bigger, maybe deeper team. And I only say in deeper because if you had Maxi Kleber, I'd say, oh man, it's really a coin flip. But I truly believe it's a coin flip. And maybe the moment gets too big for him. And also, I'm going to actually say, I'm going to give a Jason Kidd factor nod.
Okay.
He's out. See, there's a lot of people calling for his head. I wasn't, but I have receipts.
No, absolutely.
And because of his demeanor. In other words, I would always explain it this way. I said, I watched Tom Landry coach for 10 years, covering him for 10 years. He was very solemn and very stoic on the sidelines. And then he followed that with Jimmy Johnson for 5 years. He was very animated. And Jimmy's first year, he was 1-15, and people wanted to scream out. He didn't know how to coach in the NFL. He wins 2 Super Bowls. Oh, we want all animated coaches. It's just styles. But I've always known that Jason Kidd's got a high basketball IQ, and you don't go to the Western Conference Final your first year coaching down here, and the next year, because the talent's not the same, doesn't know how to coach anymore. So with that being said, common denominator with Jason Kidd in these two Western Conference Finals runs, and by the way, he is the only coach in Mavericks history to take two teams to the Western Conference Finals. Rick didn't do it. Nelly didn't do it. Nobody else has done it.
Rick only won one series, or he won 4 series total in his time, and they were all in that 2011 run.
Yep, that's it. And he's a great coach. But again, there are people who just, Jay Kidd was giving them Phil Jackson. They didn't want to hear it after games when they were losing those games. I'm talking about the media and the fans who are wanting his head. He's got a very high basketball IQ, and he's also a very good series coach. And he's also smart enough to have his team buy into what he's wanting, because that's what defense is. It's not about, and he's also the leaders of the team. There's never been a superstar who didn't love Jason Kidd. So with that being said, he's got the buy-in. But guess what he's also done? In his Western Conference run 2 years ago, and in this year, he knocked off the Coach of the Year. You realize that?
Yeah.
He went toe-to-toe with the reigning Coach of the Year in 2022 and in 2024 and whooped him.
That'll be Michael Malone and Mark not Michael Malone, Mark Dagnall.
Monty Williams.
And Monty Williams.
So with that being said, you can't just say, well, he got lucky. No, he's done it twice in 3 years and had one of these top defenses, which is buy-in. So I'm like, okay. And this series against Minnesota, Minnesota's head coach beat his teacher. He was an assistant coach with Denver, and before he became the head coach at Minnesota.
Yes.
So maybe there's an X factor of Jason Kidd doing the counter moves for Game 7, because guess what? The three things, the thing that the three coaches have in common that don't coach the Dallas Cowboys in this area, we're talking about Bochy, we're talking about DeFord.
Oh yeah, Pete DeBoer. My bad.
You good? Jason Kidd. None of them have lost a Game 7 ever. None of them at any stop. None of them. So if it's going to go Game 7, I'm taking Jason Kidd. He's undefeated.
Okay.
Again, if Minnesota wins, I'm not going to be shocked because they're more talented. They're deeper. They're bigger. But Jason Kidd in Game 7, I'm not betting against him.
All right. Some other calls when it comes to the Mavs. The 817 says Mavs sweep. Oh, we're feeling real spicy there. From the 682, a different 682. Mavs in 6, series MVP is one of the bigs. Either Gafford, Lively, or they go Towns or Edward. Okay, so you're covering your gambit, covering the entirety of it, even if the Timberwolves rather win.
See, here's the deal.
214 says
Rudy's Defensive Player of the Year. Nas Reed is the 6th man of the year.
Yes.
And Anthony Edwards is Anthony Edwards. And we haven't talked about even Cat.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying they got a lot of, and Mike Conley's so damn solid.
Yeah, he's super important, especially when it comes to scoring. Like, they don't have a ton of shooting as well. Mike Conley helps provide some of that, so he's going to be an interesting person to watch in the course of that as well. 214 Mavs in 7, they come back from 0-2 to win. And then elsewhere, another 682 says Mavs in 6. So that's where it seems like everybody's going with the Mavs. Nobody's going against the Mavs at all. It seems like there's a lot of confidence in the Mavs. However, you take this over to ESPN, and let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the probably about 12 expert picks here from ESPN go with the Mavericks. Many of them going Mavericks in 6, a couple of them Mavericks in 7. But outside of that, there's a lot of Timberwolves in this, but it looks like 6 or 7 games is where a lot of people are going. Everybody expects this to be a long series, and I'm with them. I am going to go Mavericks in 7 as well. Like, I think that you're right. I think this ends up being a little bit of a flip. I think one of the things that's going to be a difference maker in this, I can't imagine the Mavericks continue to be so poor offensively. They need to be better offensively against the Timberwolves team, because they found enough to beat the Thunder. This is a much better defensive team, so they're going to need to find more offense. But it looks like Luka is on the upswing off of that injury, and I think that'll be helpful in the course of this.
I hope this was so crazy. It really does depend on Luka's health, because he's going to have to make some threes on the regular. And because of that knee injury and that ankle injury, we have not really seen prime Luka that we saw all during the regular season, where he was a true MVP candidate, could have won the MVP if Jokic wasn't just Jokic. You know what I'm saying? So, again, what I do love the fact is it's not like the Mavericks are supposed to beat Minnesota, and the Mavericks are also a young team. You realize Kyrie and Tim Hardaway Jr. are the only rotational players that are like over the age of 25? Seriously.
Yeah, it's a young core that they have to work with here.
And again, in a way, they're ahead of expectation, because even after the trade, no one expected them to go this far. So with that being said, it's like if they beat, it's a great opportunity. Don't get me wrong. But if they lose to Minnesota, I'm not going to say, well, damn, they should have beat them. They're the better team. No, it's a real coin flip. If not, Minnesota's the favorite.
And now let's talk about the Stars, who are going to get going on Thursday evening. Probably some of the keys to this series for your Stars, obviously, have the better goalie. Like, we're in the time period where goalie play is going to matter a good amount. Jake Ottinger has been, especially, he was very good in that closeout game. The save percentage was really nice. Obviously, away from being perfect, he'd been very good. He's been playing some better hockey as you get towards the back end of this, and I anticipate him being the better goalie in this one compared to the Oilers goalies that they have. So Ottinger, as long as he's playing decent, the Stars really should be able to handle this series. And then also, and it's obvious, your top scorer's got to have an impact. So you talk about, Miro is obviously a guy that shows up even though he's a defenseman, but Wyatt Johnston, Rope Hintz, hopefully if he's back and ready to go, you expect those guys in addition to Matt Duchene. And hopefully Joe Pavelski can really turn this up. In the first round, he wasn't all that great. Second round, you started to see a little bit of that play in this conference final. You would love Joe Pavelski and the experience that he has to really show up for you as well in front of the net in this series. And so with that being the case, do you have a prediction for the Stars in their series against the Edmonton Oilers?
I think the Stars are definitely the favorite, but it's not going to be easy, because I was noticing Edmonton in the middle of the season, they had won like 16 in a row at one point. I'm like, wait a minute. Now, they didn't continue with that pace, but they still turned it on for these playoffs. They got the best player in the world, Connor McDavid. And although he's not like scoring a bunch of goals, I think he's only got 2 goals in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, they've gotten it from others.
He's got 19 assists. He got other guys scoring, Bouchard and what's his name? Dreysaul or whatever his name is. I can't speak the French. I mean, I just know that Edmonton has got some weapons. And what you don't want to do is give them power plays. Sure. You do not want to be, you don't want to have them at an advantage on you.
Yes.
Because if you can keep them from having a man advantage, I think you should win this series. Edmonton's, they're just so tricky because they're talented and they're capable of going on a run. But the Stars should win. They've got the home ice advantage. I think the Stars are due. They were in the Western Conference Finals last year. Why not go to the Stanley Cup Finals like they did in 2020 when they were in the bubble up in Canada? So why not?
Yeah.
I'm picking the Stars in 6.
Okay, I think that's a fair selection from the 972. They go Stars in 5. We had someone earlier say Stars sweep as well. In addition to the Mavs, 817 calling a sweep on both sides, and maybe that's just wishful thinking to get through the Western Conference Finals in 8 days as opposed to what could be 2 weeks of playoff sports for DFW.
And the good part, again, the teams aren't playing on the same night anymore.
That's correct.
Thank God.
NHL.com put out their experts, and of what I believe is 15 experts, 12 of them select the Dallas Stars to win this. I am obviously also going with the Dallas Stars. I talked about the goalie play. I think that you've got the scoring talent that should show up in the way that you hope that they will. In addition, I didn't even mention Logan Stankoven's been nice.
Oh yeah,
during the course of this.
Stanky.
Stanky
leg.
I want to get spicy with my brethren, the 972, the 682. Stars in 5 for me. This feels like in my inexperienced perspective, Edmonton feels like a lesser version of the Colorado Avalanche, and so I want to
That's a good parallel.
Utilize that scale there and go. You beat the Avs in 6. let's slide that to Stars, managing to beat the Edmonton Oilers in 5. And again, it might just be wishful thinking, like, let's get this done quickly so I can have a few evenings to, rest and recuperate before we get to the Stanley Cup final.
Here's wouldn't it be wild? And again, it would be the first time that one building has hosted at the same time the NBA Finals and the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. And that would be the American Airlines Center. And you've got a Mike Modano statue out front right next to a Dirk Nowitzki, the two greatest players in those franchises' histories. I mean, this is just... It would be a blast. Sick.
It'd be a blast.
That's what I'm saying. It's almost like there's this thing that's going on that makes you feel like it's kind of, and I blame the Rangers. They started all this.
Yeah. And so, man, I'm super excited for it. And this is going to be interesting, though. Someone asked this, and obviously with having these games every night, the AAC staff, who does a great job, they're going to be real busy. Woo. CA, I'm curious if you know how long it takes to transition from the ice to the hardwood. And I've been fortunate enough to see that go from the hardwood to the ice a few times, hanging out at the arena after the game. It doesn't take too long. These folks work quick.
They got it down to a science. And, all I know is they work long hours. They work hard. I always want to shout them out. And they just know what they're doing. I can't give you the exact number of hours because I can't remember off the top of my head.
Sure.
I remember they've had some fast video things. They show the time lapses, the timeline thing. I mean, I wish I could tell you, but I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Yes, if I had to guess, I'm guessing it's probably somewhere in like the 2-hour range because
they've done it on an afternoon evening situation.
Yes,
and they've had a matinee with one of the teams, and they switch it to the other by the time the night's over with.
Yeah, because you'll catch me sometimes on Locked On Mavs after those games, especially when we record them in the arena. By the time we're done with that, you look around and they've already got the boards up. They may not necessarily have the tarp or what have you that covers the ice up, but they'll have the boards up. They'll have obviously all of the all the hardwood pieces
They'll
up.
have the Zamboni key turned on. No,
they get that job done quickly, and those fine folks will have a lot of work to do over the next, week to 2 weeks here in the Metroplex.
Possible 14 nights.
It is possible. Lock in, baby. Woo. Lock in, DFW sports fans. It's going to be an absolute blast going through this from the 817. That's a good blame to be giving someone. The Rangers did start it, though. They absolutely did with a World Series championship. Woo. You love to see it. Those are the things that keep you warm in moments where, unfortunately, they fall today to the Philadelphia Phillies. Although, I don't think that this is one where you need, I need to be warm. I thought they played decently. Obviously, the not being able to hit with runners in scoring position wasn't what you wanted.
But like this, it wasn't against the Rockies and it wasn't against the Angels.
Who unfortunately they did lose against.
Yeah, the Phillies are like the best team in baseball right now.
They absolutely are.
And they went to the World Series 2 years ago and went to the playoffs last year, and they want to make up something. So, they fought, but the Rangers, they have a problem against lefties. That's all I got to say.
Okay, let's do this. Let's talk a little bit of Rangers here coming up next on the Get Right. First of all, what would you give, because we're just over a quarter of the season in the MLB in baseball, what grade would you give the Rangers for the first quarter of the season? And then we'll also talk about, we'll do a little baseball basketball combo platter here. How do you think, or who do you think are the 16 best players remaining in the NBA playoffs? Where does Luka Doncic fall? We'll do both of those things next on The Fan.
Through your phone, smart speaker, more.
You said that. Was it Spice Girls?
Doesn't sound right.
Was it Saffron Squad?
So get right here on 105 through the fan. Reginald Datatula here with you alongside Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rolling with us on this Tuesday night in the Metroplex or wherever you happen to be listening. That's right. Hanging out in I don't know what I was about to say. I got up in the air, didn't have anywhere to pass, turnover.
That's okay. You got an extra hour tonight.
We do have an extra hour tonight, taking you all the way to midnight as we clocked in a little late, made a little room for Rangers Phillies. The Phillies came out victorious in game one of that 3-game set, 5-2. Tomorrow, Dane Dunning returns for your Texas Rangers. He'll be on the mound opposite T1 Walker. And so hopefully your Rangers will have an opportunity with T1 Walker not pitching all that well to maybe get the bats going.
He's a righty, too.
Yes, he is. The first of five that are going to be matched up with your Rangers in the next 5 games. So hopefully that can also provide a little bit of a spark and an opportunity to get some things done. But while we're talking about the Rangers, we're over the first quarter of the season in the MLB. And so that then gives us a milestone to maybe put a grade on it. So again, 877-881-1053, also on the Twitch, also on the YouTube. What would be your letter grade for the Texas Rangers through the first quarter of the season? It's been a little tumultuous. There's been quite a bit of adversity that the Rangers have to face, and that's not the first time they've had to do that, particularly under Bruce Bochy. Last year, we saw a lot of adversity, and so we've come to a place where it gives us an opportunity to kind of reflect on how this team has handled that adversity. Obviously, you've had to deal with a lot of injuries starting before you even got to the season. You knew some guys would be out. Some people have joined them. Josh Young obviously was a guy that you were not anticipating having to be on the IL. You knew that some of the starting pitchers would have to be on the IL, and they were been joined by the likes of Cody Bradford. Dane Dunning obviously is just coming off of that. I don't think, at least I'm going to speak hopefully. I hope that Jonathan Gray does not have to join them, because today he comes off of the mound after 5 innings with a little bit of a groin soreness. So you've had ups and downs there, in addition to your 2 bullpen signings in David Robertson and Kirby Yates. They've been great, but everybody else in the bullpen has been a little shaky. There's been a lot of adversity. Chris, for you, when you look at the Rangers through the first quarter of the season, what grade do you give them?
It's very simple, and it's based on the adversity. If they had the record that they have right now, 24-25, with 0 adversity, I would give them an F coming off of a World Series. I was like, wait a minute, you guys are World Series champions. Don't you know you're a target now? People are going to give you their best shots every time you go against the team. There's no way to start the season like this if you're the world champions and you have 0 adversity, whether it's injuries, whether it's situational, whatever it is. But to be 24-25, having a sub 500 record for the first time ever under Bruce Bochy in Texas. Ever. I find it to be miraculous. So with that in mind, and again, you mentioned some of the different guys who you were expected to contribute at this point in time, and they haven't been able to. Shoot. Spring training ended. We thought Wyatt Langford, he's going to be good to go.
Yeah.
We were saying, who's going to be the rookie of the year? Is it going to be Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford? That's what we were thinking.
And right now, neither of them are in the conversation at large, unfortunately.
You. And again, that's part of wow, they've been going through some adversity. But guess what adversity does? It either makes you or break you. It's you learn lessons from this. This which makes you stronger. Sometimes fans, it's not even just about baseball. It's about whatever the sport may be. They'll see the adversity and they'll blame the manager. They'll blame the coach. They'll blame the players, as if adversity doesn't exist in sports.
Sure.
Adversity creates character, and either you're going to learn from it and become a champion, or it's going to beat you down. I give them a C+.
You're not alone in that. On the text line from the 817, they give the Rangers C+.
There you go.
Would go lower if it wasn't for so many injuries, as you said, but arms have been surprisingly good, and that's absolutely been a big thing in the wake of not having Scherzer there and DeGrom and of course Malley, who you signed, and then obviously having others go onto the IL. Cody Bradford started off hot and he goes onto the IL. You've still gotten good performances from the likes of.
Can I give you a knucklehead answer?
Please.
Adversity, that's an excuse. This team sucks. They're one and done. They're not going nowhere. But I'm just saying, for those who felt like their voices aren't heard.
I mean, but at this point, it's early, and two, I think that a C+ recognizes that they are not doing incredible. I mean, you still have guys that you anticipate being kind of like tent poles of your lineup. In fact, right? And I know Nathaniel Lowe missed time, but he's back in the lineup.
They got their rings and they just don't care.
Corey Seager has
paid good money for these new season tickets.
Yeah, Corey Seager has not missed time, but he hasn't been himself. And the Adolis Garcia has had a funk during the course of this, and those are guys you anticipate to produce.
Hold my beer,
right?
I'm not finished yet.
And so, I think all of those things show up in that. But no, I'm with you there. In fact, I'm willing to go up to a B, maybe a B-, because one of the things about it is you look around and you go, when it comes to the organization, when it comes to Bruce Bochy, for the most part, I don't think that I can look at a place where I go, they have not worked hard to try and address these things.
Right.
And you look around and it's like, no, they're not producing in the ways that they need to. However, there's a little bit of good fortune in that the division is not out of hand. The division all the way around seems to be a little bit lackluster in some ways that has allowed you to stay kind of attached. And they have tried very hard to get things going in all sorts of different places, and they've hung on. And so for right now, they're staying attached. And from CBS Sports, they are given a B. And they say, considering that the Rangers knew coming into the year that they'd be without DeGrom and Scherzer for an extended period of time, they have to be happy with the results. It doesn't mean that they have to be thrilled with every development where you talk about the Rookie of the Year award favorite, who was Wyatt Langford. He's underperformed. And then MVP candidate Corey Seager has been, not all that great. But it does mean that on the whole, this has been a solid start for the defending World Series champions. And I mean, for the most part, they just reached under 500
for the first
while
time.
Also we talked about all of these negative things that have been happening for them.
There might have been more pressure on the team if somebody was running away with it. If the Astros or even Seattle were just running away with this thing. I would say this. The fact that there's a new, I think, not a learning curve, but the fact that people understand baseball a little bit better after this past season.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how many people a year ago at this time, DeGrom's out for the year. That's it. The Rangers just suck. They're not going to do nothing this year because they threw all that money. I'm talking about the knee-jerk fans, the ones that just remember the Rangers had never won anything before. They pushed all these chips into DeGrom, and then wait a minute, the offense is good, but they can't keep it up. Wait a minute, the bullpen is horrible. Wait a minute, we're getting Dane Dunning's actually showing up. Wait a minute, what? Andrew Heaney, he's pretty good. Well, wait, whoa. The kid from Nolan Ryan's hometown, he's a second. Oh wow, he's holding it down for him. You see what I'm saying? I think people learned some things last year, and they learned the number one thing. They learned this team reflected off their manager because they have faith in the manager. Because the guy who wasn't losing his mind was Bochy, wasn't? He was calm. He's seen it all. He got rings to prove it.
Yeah.
So everybody just kind of said, Bochy ain't flinching.
No, and that's one of the things about him is that he's cool, calm, and collected. Cool customer all the way through these things. But I mean, people are agreeing. C, for the exact reason CA just said, adversity, injuries, bats have been very disappointing so far. Can't agree anymore from the 2 and 4 C because they are solid. The one thing for me is, like, this is a grade of the quarter thus far. I do have some concerns going forward because obviously, and cue up the counter here, it's a marathon and not a sprint. However, in some ways, when you're looking at a marathon, you're like, okay, here's a mile marker where I anticipate something getting better. And someone from the 817 mentions, to be fair, all the talk to start the year was just stay in the hunt until the All-Star break.
Exactly.
And let the cavalry come.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that this team could be better at this time, which you're right, 817, but who is the cavalry in this instance right now? Because you've had some setbacks with injuries that have pushed some of those cavalry further out. I know that Josh Young will be one of those guys that you look at, but
he got pushed further back.
He's got pushed further back.
Wyatt Langford pushed back.
Langford, who also, like,
Evan
I think
Carter.
you have some questions as to how adjusted is he to the majors now. It's a relatively small sample in what he has started with, but
are you calling him Jack Leiter?
I don't think I'm saying that. However,
no, you didn't call him Jack Leiter.
I think you always have to be really careful when you're bringing up a young player to the majors. It's a different level. There's a reason why there's AAA, and there's a reason why there's the majors. And I know that he had a great spring training, but you want to see that
now you're
production.
calling him Profar. Oh, no, you didn't.
I didn't say any of that, I don't think.
But it was on your forehead. I was just reading your brain.
I just want my forehead don't got enough room to write all that.
It said Jurickson Profar, a.k.a. Jack Leiter, until proven otherwise.
No, I mean, I don't know that you can bank on, all right, Wyatt Langford is going to come in and immediately be like a guy that helps hold up what this offense has been.
No,
but,
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm playing with you.
Evan Carter also, you hope to be better. When does DeGrom come back? That's a great question that we're not certain on. The timeline had been set to around the All-Star break, but with all these guys, we've seen all sorts of setbacks, and I'm not saying that inherently means that everybody is not coming back, but I think the idea that the cavalry is coming is something that's a little bit less certain.
This is where you worry. There's a couple of angles to look at this. This is where you worry when the cavalry does start coming back, and if there's not immediate results.
Yes.
And if you're not close enough to make the difference where you're in the playoff hunt. Or, in other words, if you lose enough ground, you're like, wow, the cavalry can't even help. Or the cavalry's not even helping.
Yeah.
That's when you get major concern. Right now, like you said, you just kind of stay in the hunt. But what's making it difficult to stay in the hunt is out of the blue, they can't hit lefties in this lineup due to injuries or whatever else. And I bring this up because Evan Carter wrote a hell of an article over the weekend where he's like,
Evan Grant.
Yeah, sorry, Evan Grant.
I was like, Evan Carter applying his trade as well in his downtime.
He can write. He's a beat writer too. He just changes shift shapes. What do you call it? Shift shaper? Shift shaper? Shape shift.
There it is. It took a while.
A shape shifter.
It is 10:37 in case you needed some explanation.
But back to the
as to what we're
lefties.
doing here.
Last year, the Rangers were number 4 in all of Major League Baseball hitting off lefties. Number 4. Right now, they can't do it, and other teams are actually adjusting their rotations to make sure they got a lefty going against these Rangers. Look it up. It's a fact.
It's a real topsy-turvy season because the things that you kind of, banked on being your stable, bread and butter are not quite there in the ways that you anticipate. And some of the things that you did not anticipate being the solid portions have been rock solid. Like your lineup, you expect the offense to be there. You expected runs to be there. They were one of, if not the best offense in baseball last year. That lineup looked like there were no holes. There were no easy outs.
It
and
looked
they
like
have
the
not
only
been
one
good
that
this
couldn't
year.
hit the lefties was Evan Carter. Not Evan Grant, but Evan Grant can't either, but Evan Carter. That was the weakness. And they were like, well, where are we going to put him in the lineup? Because everybody else can hit everybody. So and now all of them can't hit a left.
I mean, I guess the goal is, can that letter grade get better in the second quarter of the season as they are going through right now? Today, not necessarily, but tomorrow is another day. And tomorrow, that day sees Dane Dunning return for your Rangers. T1 Walker will be on the mound for the Phillies in Philadelphia. And so you hope that you can get the bats going. T1 Walker, a righty, as we mentioned, the disparity between righties and lefties, and one that has a relatively high ERA. So hopefully the bats can get going tomorrow and begin going in the right direction. As we've already seen Corey Seager start going, although he strikes out 3 times today against a very good Rangers Suarez, to be fair.
By the way, congratulations to Marcus Semien. He is officially a 10-year vet.
That is right.
In Major League Baseball as of today.
Hey, man, put some respect on that man's name and make sure that pension come through.
For real. Bottom line.
There you go. It's the Get Right here on 105 through the Fan. We'll save that 16 best players in the playoffs for tomorrow, because it'll be me and you tomorrow after that Ranger game here on the Get Right.
And we'll keep you updated on the Maverick game too.
Oh man, it's going to be a hell of an evening, and we're going to do our best to give you all the coverage that you need here in the DF Dub on the Get Right on 105 through the Fan. Coming up next, however, just because it's late at night doesn't mean we're not going to get you some sharing time. We'll do that next on the Fan.
Coming up on the next KNC Masterpiece, the key questions and hopefully plenty of
Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Atatula here with you alongside the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rolling with us on this Tuesday evening in Metroplex. 877-881-1053 is the number to text in. That's the Franklin Frankel Injury Attorney text line. And on that text line, someone asked, what was the Rangers' record at this time last year, rather? This time next year, if I knew that, that'd be kind of wild, wouldn't it? But this time last year, there's two ways I could take this, right? Mm-hmm. On this date last year, which would be March 21st, the Rangers were 29-17 compared to their current 24-25. And 49 games to the season, obviously, which is where the Mavs, or the Rangers rather, find themselves. Last year, they were 31-18. So definitely in a different pace, different place. But of course, we knew that it was going to be a different situation, even coming into the season, just with all the injuries and all the circumstances that the Rangers, I keep wanting to say Mavs, the Rangers have faced themselves in early on. It was going to be a different path this season. And so just for your edification, if that was something that you were considering, there you go. One thing to keep in mind, we got a fan hang coming. Trying to get more of these involved. Mm-hmm. We used to do these all the time. The fan hangs, getting out amongst the people, chilling, talking, fellowshipping, as they say. This time, it is going to be at Revolver Brewing in Granbury. It's proudly presented by Alba Limos, and it'll be this Saturday, 1 to 4 p.m. at 5650 Matlock Road. Already confirmed. Corey Majors, Kevin Hagelin, Brian Broaddus, Bobby Belt, and myself will all be out there, and maybe some others.
More surprises. I could be wandering over there. I got to do the fan jam with Will Chambers. He's back from his vacation. If someone promises Will Brown liquor, he will be there.
And speaking of Will being back from vacation, as we get into some sharing time, I guess if you follow him on Instagram like I do, Will back from a vacation, sounds like his vacation got turned upside down at the very end of it. Yes, he did not enjoy his air travels, let's say.
Really?
He was
doing the Florida or something?
I don't know where he came from or where he went, right? Where did you come from? Where did you go?
He was hanging out with some of his buddies.
Yes, and apparently he did some golfing because his golf bag got lost for a period of time. And then when he found it, apparently it was drenched in water. I'm sure you hear about this on Saturday for certain. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Will did the thing where he got on social media and had to vent to the airline about how they did him wrong. So that was a fun thing to see. Well, maybe not fun, but a funny
interesting
thing. Yeah. It was funny
how he handled it.
Yeah, of course I don't want bad things to happen to my friend Will Chambers, unless they make me laugh.
Unless it's Kentucky versus Kansas State.
Well, yes, absolutely, always in that instance. How about some sharing time? Do you happen to have anything to share? Would you like me to?
You can start it off.
Okay, no problem.
I do want to give a quick shout out to my mom though.
Oh, well, then let's not delay that. Shout outs to moms.
I got to give a shout out to my mother because she got a phone call recently that shocked and amazed her. She has been announced as an inductee to the Oklahoma Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
This Oklahoma Hall of Fame started in 1928, and they've only inducted 145 people, period, including Will Rogers, Sequoia, Mickey Mantle, Carrie Underwood. It's just absolutely amazing. She's done so many things. She's the executive director of the Black Liberated Arts Center in Oklahoma.
That's incredible.
She travels all over the world for arts education. They're partners with the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. She has been everywhere, and she's written 6 books. And like I said, I'm just so proud of her. That's like one of the biggest moments for our family.
Shouts out to Mom.
Anita G. Arnold, Oklahoma City.
Hall of Famers galore in the Arnold family.
It's just, I've always been impressed with my mom. But
of course.
She was the highest ranking black female at AT&T. She put their diversity program together in the 1970s with a core group of people. St. Marshall became the highest ranking black female after her. She calls my mother Hidden Figures. My mother was the second highest ranking female at AT&T Global in the 1970s and early 80s. So
those Arnolds,
major props to her.
Those Arnolds accomplished things. So shout out to Miss Arnold.
She grew up in Tecumseh, Oklahoma, and she was a classmate in elementary school with the great baseball player Willie Stargell. Pittsburgh
wow.
Pirates.
Yeah.
We are family. She went to elementary school with him. And
Even
like I
moms
said,
knows famous people in the Hall of Fame.
my
Just
mother
incredible.
met Nelson Mandela at his palace in South Africa with Betty Shabazz and Coretta Scott King back in the day.
I mean, that's incredible.
I am the nobody in my family. My mother went to Howard University.
You wonder why CA did all the things that he did. He was like, I got to keep up. We got to keep up.
Achieve.
So shout out to moms. Mine is going to be my sharing time is significantly less achievement and actually just a little bit more disappointing all the way around, or a lot more disappointing. As mine's about McDonald's. Yeah, this is bad for me.
The Golden Arches.
I don't even eat at McDonald's anymore, to be completely honest. But it still makes me sad. Like this is an ending of an era, seemingly in at least my lifetime in the relationship with McDonald's. Because according to a marketplace report as of last week, thereabouts, McDonald's is phasing out its self-serve soda machines. Now, this is supposedly by 2032.
That's a long way to
It's got some time. However,
what's the problem?
What that means is at that time, individual McDonald's locations can decide whether or not to charge for refills. The free refill is going away, y'all. You don't seem to be struck by this in the way that I feel like you should be struck by this.
Well, I'm not a soda person, but I wish the one thing I do.
You never got the water cup to get some soda?
No, I would get water.
Okay, so you wouldn't understand. You just living a whole different life.
But let me tell you what I did. What drives me crazy about McDonald's? They cannot fix the shake machine.
Ice cream machine?
The ice cream machine, the shake machine in the summertime. You can never get a shake in the summertime because there's always something wrong with the machine.
That's
Every
right.
McDonald's in the world. In the summertime, they cannot handle the shake machine. So soda refills? Ooh, I know that's struck a nerve with a lot of people though.
But the thing that really gets me is like, it don't cost y'all nothing. Like there might be maybe the highest profit margin on sodas because ultimately it's not super costly when it comes to the cost that you're getting or the return that you're getting or what you're charging compared to what the raw materials or what have you cost. And so it's always been a place to, kind of been able to,
at least you could justify it, right?
You could show your customers that you appreciate them in a way that's not actually going to hurt you.
Right.
And it's like, I think for me, it shows a full downfall in what felt like something that was comforting in fast food. Because we've seen this all the way around. Fast food it's no longer the cheap option that it used to be.
No.
Right? And you were already sacrificing quality when it came to fast food for the most part, compared to like a restaurant or cooking or what have you. But you understood that you were doing that for the perk of it's going to be fast. And then there's little things that were nice, like, refills and those types of things. And now it's not really cheaper than going and like making your own food or even in some instances going to a restaurant. You're not letting me have my refills from the 214. They don't even give y'all napkins at the drive-thrus no more. What are we going here for? What are y'all doing to us? Like, why am I here?
They're counting the ketchup and then give it to you?
Yeah. Being stingy with the sauces.
Right.
What am I supposed to dip these nuggets in?
Paying extra for sauces.
My tears? What is wrong with y'all? And so just another way in which, it feels like the fast food restaurant is leaving the average man behind. And this is just another indication of it. Now, of course, 2032, get your free refills in before then. However, it seems like by 2032, you're not going to be able to see them free refills at the McDonald's.
It's one thing if they if they were serving like the bottled like sodas.
Sure. I'm not going to ask you to, hey man, my can's empty.
Yeah.
Can you fill her up? Like nobody does that. But hey man, it's a cup.
And you just walk over there to the thing and hit the, you know what?
Yeah, jerks.
Next thing you know, they'll be counting how many fries they get.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
Oh, it's only 20. You got 21. Give me that fry.
That's right. That's right.
I really don't know what else to say, so I'm going to let Stephen A. take this away.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
That's right, McDonald's. From the 817, the cost comes with maintenance. Sure, but I mean, you're going to maintain it if you're going to have drinks regardless, right? Unless you're getting rid of drinks entirely. Which now that I say it, McDonald's might do that by 2040. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, that's frustrating. So yeah, I saw that and it hit me.
How you gonna wash down that McRib?
Because they're going to bring it back every year, or every other year or something like that, periodically.
Get it while it lasts.
They do that on purpose.
You jerks.
Yeah, jerks.
That's my sharing time here on the Get Right here on 105 The Fan. Me lamenting not getting free
Low key, they
refills
fired the
anymore in future.
Hamburglar.
They sure did. They did bring back Grimace, though.
I like Grimace.
He's probably the best of those. I don't know what to call them. McDonald's characters, what have you. And of course, again, shout out to Mama Arnold.
Oh yeah, my mother. Yeah,
joining the Oklahoma Hall of Fame.
Got to go to the ceremony in November. Can't wait.
You get to go to the ceremony in November.
Yes.
There you go.
I actually got to go to the lunch. I was up in Oklahoma. This is the craziest thing. I went to Oklahoma Thursday because they had this luncheon because they didn't tell. There's only 7 in the class of 2024. And they didn't know who was going to join them until they went to this luncheon. And so my mom said, "Can you come up to lunch?" I said, "Yeah." Went to the luncheon. This is the night after the Mavericks beat the Thunder up there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It was
from the 817. Taco Bell is still cheap, and you can load up on sauce. And I wonder what that tells you.
No,
about
they tell you. They tell you how many sauces do you want.
Do they really at Taco Bell?
It's a drive-through.
Oh, that's wild. Even Taco Bell going wild, cheap on you. That's
with the taco meat.
What a time. It's the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. We are not ending here as the Get Right typically does. We got you till midnight.
Yes.
So one more hour of the Get Right. We begin the final hour of the show by getting you your headlines on this evening, and we'll do it next on The Fan.
Through your phone, smart speaker.
station. It's time for The Get Right on 105.3 The Fan.
Yes, indeed. Final hour of the Get Right here on a Tuesday on 105.3
We're
The
still
Fan.
on?
We are indeed still here, and so are you on 105 through the Fan. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting involved on the Franco Injury Attorney text line 877-881-1053 on YouTube, 105 through the Fan, and on Twitch.tv/Dallas FanCam. Been a fun evening thus far, and we'll keep it going with our final hour. And we always begin our final hour with some headlines on the evening, and so let's do that. Yes, that's right, T3 Pritchett. Extra hour. You're welcome. I do it for the people and because I was scheduled to be here. But you know what I mean? Like mostly for the people. Mostly for the people. All right, let's get you your headlines on this evening. We begin with the big live sports happening on the evening, which was the Eastern Conference Finals Game 1 in the NBA, where the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers faced off in Boston at the TD Garden. And the Boston Celtics coming into the series, big time favorites, huge favorites. In fact, people were not even considering the Pacers in this, and the Pacers came out. Maybe they took offense to that because they looked scrappy. They really showed some of the ways in which they match up nicely with what is a pretty good Boston Celtics defense. You saw like in the pick and roll, they were finding a lot of space and they were getting into it. They were getting out and running with turnovers. And they kept this really close to the point of taking it to overtime. In fact, the Celtics needed a 3 on the last possession to tie it up to go to overtime. However, once they got to overtime, the Celtics were able to do what people anticipated them doing. They get a win, 133-128, and they win Game 1. But it did not look the way that people anticipated looking a win in Game 1 for the Celtics.
Let me tell you something. The Celtics have a lot of pressure on them. Let me explain for those who don't know. All during the season, there were pundits in Boston saying, is this the most talented Celtics team ever? They're not talking about the greatest team. They're not counting rings because they don't have any rings. They're just talking about 1 through 12. Do they have the most talent of any team ever assembled by the Celtics organization? Well, guess what? That core group, they've been to the finals before.
They have?
They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals number of times.
I think that they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals 6 years in a row or something to that effect.
Put it like this, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Marcus Smart from Dallas, he was a part of that group until last year. They had been together a long, long time. They added Drew Holiday from the Bucks, who's the only guy on the team with a ring. It's like this team's supposed to go somewhere. That's added pressure. Here comes the Pacers. Nobody thought they'd be there. You know what the Pacers' claim to fame this season was? They hosted the All-Star Weekend. Their best player, Halliburton, is an All-Star. But they actually played the Lakers in that cup, the NBA
in the in-season tournament.
Nobody saw that coming, but nobody cares about that. So it was like, okay,
but
Indiana.
I mean, it probably should have told us something. This was a good Pacers team for a good amount of time. Yeah.
And Rick Carlisle left the Mavericks, went to Indiana, and put that team together, man. He made some moves and he did some wheeling and dealing. And look at them. They're in the NBA Finals.
6 players score over 20 points in this game, 3 from each team. Tatum leads all scorers, 36 points, 12 rebounds in this game. But what's notable, Tyrese Halliburton, 25 points, 6 3-pointers. They shot pretty well from deep. The Pacers did. I mean, they shot all right, I should say, 37%. But I mean, they were really pacey. Local kid Miles Turner, played pretty well. He had 23 and 10 as well. I mean, and then another double-double, 24 and 12 for Pascal Siakam. Just a lot of really good play from those guys. Unfortunately for the Pacers, it was not a win, but they did prove they could play with this team. And so I think there was a lot of people that were writing off the Eastern Conference Finals. It looks like it's going to be a lot more interesting than we gave it credit for.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, Pascal Siakam, he's also local. He went to high school in Louisville.
That's true. That is true. A lot of guys.
And he's got a ring. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of guys
from this area. Ground.
It really
fertile ground for talent in the sports realm.
People think football all the time in Texas, or North Texas in particular. Shoot. Basketball. There's a whole lot of names in the NBA.
As long as you could think, because obviously you can go back, you talk about Chris Bosh, you can go back even further, you talk about Dennis Rodman and Spud Webb. There's so many guys that have come out of the DFW playing really good hoop, and the legacy continues. All right, as we continue to get you your headlines on this evening, this one I believe came through fairly late. Or not, actually, no, that's not true. It came through maybe about 5 hours ago. But the NFL has another announcement or another thing that they're going to try and do to advance what they are doing. And I found this to be very interesting because people have been kind of calling for this for a long time. Supposedly, the NFL is set to test an optical tracking system to deal with line-to-gain rulings in the preseason of this year, with eyes towards maybe implementing it in the season. So,
are you saying that if you break the plan on touchdown?
Not even just the touchdown, but maybe even first down, like line to gain. So like on, deciding if you made the line to gain for fourth downs or, for first downs rather. And
not
so
just dragging out those sticks and chains.
It's possible that the chain might be on its last legs.
It's so 20th century.
But the thing that I've always found to be tough about that is we compare, like we always talk about Hawkeye technology, which is used in tennis. Clearly, you see that. It's also used in soccer, like that goal line technology to determine if the ball is all the way over the goal line. But the thing that I've always said is that you're working with a static boundary in most of those things, right? The end line of the tennis baseline is going to stay the same, right? Those out of bounds lines are always there in the same place. Right. And same thing with the goalposts in soccer. But then also you're working with a single object, and there's not a lot of interference in the way a lot of these times. When you're talking about spotting the football, that it gets really tough because you're talking about a oblong object where you have to be that has to be modeled properly.
You're doing it 3 or 4 times.
You're doing it 3 or 4 times, but then also it's not just did this ball cross this line. Did it cross at this particular time when a knee or an elbow was down? And do we have something that marks down to the millisecond when that knee hits or when that elbow hits?
Correct.
And those types of things. And so it's not as easy because, like, obviously with Hawkeye, it's just a bunch of cameras pointed at this spot. Well, how many times have we looked at all the camera angles and we can't even see the football because there's bodies in the way?
Yeah.
So I'm very intrigued.
Even a camera view above the pile.
Right.
You can't tell if it crossed the plane.
So I'm very intrigued to see exactly how the NFL goes about this. But the trial is going to be done in the preseason, and the system apparently has been tried out at a few NFL stadiums this past season a little bit. So it's going to get a full trial this preseason or in this summer. And then if the trial goes well, the tracking system will be implemented for full time in this NFL season, this upcoming NFL season. So we'll see. This might be an opportunity to really, take some of the guesswork out of officiating and maybe honestly take some of the officials' attention away from spotting the football, maybe to hopefully calling the football game better.
I hope so too. I'll never forget that one game. It was a Cowboys game. Referee put out an index card to see if the football at the card had enough space to make it first. I was like, this is the craziest
It was
thing.
a bit. He was out here being carrot top.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing about it is you could see it on his face. He had a bleep-eating grin.
Yes.
He looked right into the camera like, watch this. And then he pulled the index card out. We were like, are you kidding me right now?
If they couldn't slide down between the football and the chain. First down.
I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Gotta be kidding me.
He was not kidding. He was not kidding. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to watch out for in the NFL with that implementation. As we continue to get you your headlines on this evening, some other Dallas sports that was live this evening. Dallas Wings in the WNBA, they were live. They were playing in Atlanta against the Atlanta Dream. They fell to the Dream 83-78. Monique Billings played in this game for the Wings as a hardship exemption. So she joined the team. She actually played in this game, but unfortunately, your Wings lose in this one. I believe this is
still early.
It's still very early. They'll face off against against Phoenix, against the Mercury here shortly. But yeah, Tiara McCown led all scores for your Wings in this, 21-14. She's been really good. They work inside out, but the Atlanta Dream get the win.
Yeah,
and
Alicia Gray was just too tough.
Yeah, man. Points. She loves playing against these Wings where she had previously played. So the Wings fall to 1-2. They are ranked 4th as of right now. So there you go. Some other headlines on this evening in sports. Where was I going? I forgot. Oh, I did want to talk about this because this was a wild thing. So LaMelo Ball is being sued. And you might think, what do you mean LaMelo's Ball being sued? He is being sued by a mother of a child who alleges that LaMelo Ball drove over her son's foot at a team event in 2023. So LaMelo Ball, clearly point guard for the Charlotte Hornets, son of I was about to say Lonzo
Ball
Ball's
family.
brother. What's his dad's name again? I done forgot his dad's name, which is crazy because there was a point in time where we thought we would never forget that man's name because he wouldn't stop being in front of us.
It'll come to us.
But why? Why can't I remember that dude's name?
Okay.
But yes, LaMelo Ball was at an event for the Charlotte Hornets. They said the incident happened when her family was at the Spectrum Center for what they call Purple and Teal Day on
LeVar
October
Ball.
7th. That's it. LeVar Ball. Never lost. Apparently fans were gathering outside and tried to catch the players as they were leaving the arena. Obviously, get autographs, those types of things that happen at any event when professional athletes are there. So the woman said her now 12-year-old son is a huge fan of LaMelo Ball. So he saw his car. He tried to approach him and ask for an autograph. Rather, he said, "LaMelo, I love you. Sign my what have you. Give me your autograph. Can you sign for me?" The mother said that LaMelo Ball did not sign anything and drove off. And McCrae, who is the mother here, saw Joseph, her son, looking down. And at first she assumed that he had dropped something. However, she soon realized that the child was injured. And they didn't realize until they did realize that he was injured. He had a broken foot and it took months to recover from. And so now.
And he didn't do that on purpose.
No.
But go ahead.
Well, I mean, you didn't, but at the same time, you ran over the kid's foot. Like, I feel like you imagine you want to probably take care of, particularly a fan. Sure. However, now LaMelo is being sued for this. I don't know. I don't know.
See,
if
that's
he
the
knew.
thing. That's what's always so complicated on these things. Sometimes they don't know this, and somebody tells them they don't know whether to believe it or not. They get in touch. It's hard to say. I just cannot see him doing this on purpose. I can see it being a problem, but I can't. This is one of these things I got to see the whole. I got to have all details. I got to know some context. I just got to know context, and I feel bad for the kid.
Well, I mean, going further on the story, apparently the lawyer said the family has been looking into filing a claim in order to, pay for his medical bills. However, the police report did not have Ball's name or insurance information, which obviously, as he took off as he was going.
He didn't know,
right? And I'm not saying that like he was a hit and run, but he was going at that
think
instance.
That.
But quote. Because that information was not provided, we only have one recourse, and that is the court system, according to the lawyer. So the family decided to also add the Hornets to the lawsuit because the incident happened at an official team event at their arena there. No public comments have been made by LaMelo Ball or the Hornets, but that was just kind of a wild thing to see. That
it is.
And I don't know that there was malice there either. I imagine that there wasn't, but wild that a kid goes to try and get an autograph and then ends up with a broken foot.
It's crazy. I just need more context. I feel bad for the kid, but I can see how these things happen all the time. Now, I'm not saying somebody get their foot run over, but somehow or another, a kid or an adult trying to get an autograph or a picture with an athlete or a celebrity, and something goes wrong because whatever the situation, the celebrity has to leave, or the celebrity's trying to eat, or whatever it is. It's like, I just hate when those things happen because a lot of these times it's just an accidental situation on either side. And you just don't know what to think. And all of a sudden, here comes litigation. It's like, oh, the lawyer's going to get paid no matter what.
Yeah, that is always one thing that shows up. As we continue to get you your headlines, the NBA announced their all defensive teams. We learned the rookie teams yesterday. Derek Lively made second team all rookie in the NBA, but the defensive teams obviously ends up being a big thing for folks that play, do defensive things, because there's not a lot of appreciation for defensive work in the NBA.
There's only first and second team.
And so with that being the case, we have the first team, and you will be playing against one of them. Obviously, he's the defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert, on the first team. And there's a lot of big guys on this as we've gone positionless, and apparently defense skews towards those larger sizes. So Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis of the Lakers shows up, Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat, Herb Jones, who is a wing player who has been very good at defense, and breaking records, Victor Wembanyama of the Spurs. He is in fact the first rookie to ever be all defense first team in the NBA. So Victor Wembanyama, I mean, it already feels like that guy is going to be super special in this league.
The Spurs are going to be a problem. They are. I mean, you already know it's coming. Oklahoma City's going to be a problem. We're talking about the division alone that the Mavericks are in. It's like, whoa.
Even though the division doesn't necessarily matter as much anymore, but I mean, still.
The West.
Yes.
And guess what? People forget Memphis had a down year because John Morant wasn't playing. He coming back.
Yeah, it really is funny how quickly we forget. And that's one of the things I was talking about. I don't remember who exactly, but the ways in which we can kind of get caught in the moment where we're like, oh, this team is great and they're going to be great for 5 years and they're going to dominate the league. It's quick. It happens so quick. We were talking about the Nuggets as if they're going to be at the top of this I mean, they're not going away necessarily, but I mean, here they are, not even in the conference finals the year after they won their championship, and we're trying to crown them. And you mentioned the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies felt like a team that was young and talented, and they're going to be atop the league for the next 5 years. And I mean, they have been bad this year. Obviously, they had injuries and they missed players, but I mean, that can happen. That can happen with any team.
Sacramento. Everybody thought Sacramento they had taken that step. They've taken a step backwards, but we're just talking about the talent that's being across the board. To show you how the talent is across the board, for the first time since the mid-1970s, the NBA will have a sixth different champion 6 years in a row. 6 different champions 6 years in a row. Remember how people, 10 years ago, oh, Matt, it's always LeBron versus Golden State. I'm so tired of the finals. The same 2 teams every year. Not the last 6 years. Can you name the last 5 NBA champions?
Oh yeah, I can. In fact, I did it last night. But I mean, I'll even start from what was it? I started from 2015, right? I started with the Warriors. So 15 Warriors, 16 Cavs. Then you had 17, 18 Warriors again. You went 19 was when Kawhi Leonard was traded to Toronto for the Raptors.
That's when you start with the 5 different, and this will be the 6th.
That is right. So
Toronto
in 2019, the Lakers won in the bubble in 2020. 2021 is when Giannis and the Bucks were coordinated there. 2022, the Warriors come back out of nowhere. That's when the Mavericks go to the Western Conference Finals. And then last year, 2023, the Nuggets. This year, it's one of the Mavericks, the Timberwolves, the Celtics, or the Pacers that will win the championship in the NBA.
That's called, is it NFL balance?
Yeah, the NBA tried to work to add some parity to this, and it's looking like a parity league as well. And one of the things that they love is, I think that drew attention and hopefully drove up the money on their TV deal, as it seems like NBC is likely going to get involved in the TV deal. And should they, you might be hearing some sounds that you're used to, something that's a little nostalgic. Today on the Dan Le Batard show, John Tesh was a guest. And he was asked if NBC had talked to him about maybe utilizing the Round Ball Rock. Round Ball Rock being that song that for a long time was the iconic NBA on NBC theme song. And he said that actually they had contacted him, and it's supposedly at the end of June, him and a whole bunch of people, he's convening an orchestra to head to Nashville and maybe re-record Round Ball Rock. So if NBC gets back into the action of broadcasting NBA games, you might hear Round Ball Rock return to its rightful place at NBC, although you might have heard it on Fox Sports if you've watched some college basketball. It doesn't feel quite right there, though.
Exactly. John Tesh, for those who don't know, he was the co-host on Entertainment Tonight, but he was also an incredible musician who wrote scores to a lot of different things, including the NBA on NBC. If NBC is back in the mix, that means TNT is out, and everybody's wondering what's going to happen to Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Ernie Johnson. Ernie Johnson says, I'm staying with TNT no matter what. Charles is like, I got a clause in my contract that I'm a free agent if the NBA leaves TNT. TNT is like, wait a minute, we got a right to match clause in our contract. And right now, Adam Silver saying $2.5 billion. Somebody come up with it. NBC says, I got the 2.5. And it's up to TNT to match it or give you more.
And I know that some people have kind of said that I think like John Skipper said, he's not even certain that Turner actually even has a match clause.
Because the lawyers are saying the wording's so vague. Is it really a match? All I know is the negotiation window is closed right now. The official negotiation window is closed. But Adam Silver and the NBA saying it's not done yet. We haven't officially given it to NBA.
On the YouTube. Swanky B says, hi, Reggie. Blake from Aruba. So Blake checking
What's up,
in
Blake?
From Aruba. And he said that
the island's mine.
He said, tell CA, nice shirt.
I appreciate that.
That's the Club Maverick tie-dye shirt that you're rocking on this evening.
Yeah.
On the day before, your Mavericks kick off the Western Conference Finals in Minnesota. Game 1 tomorrow evening.
Can I ask Tola from the Aruba, what's his name?
Blake? No,
Blake. Have you seen?
You might have met him.
Okay, but still. Oh, that Blake.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think you realize who I was talking about because he's on vacation in Aruba right now.
I didn't know he was in a room. Why are you down there, Blake? See if you run into the Oklahoma City Thunder down there or some Clippers. Anybody down
That's
there?
right. That's right.
You know, some of them didn't go to Cancun, but they're out there.
There you
what's
go.
up, Blake? Tell your mom I said what's up, too.
That's right. That's right. Always a shout out to Miss Kim. There you go. Those are some headlines on this Tuesday evening.
Blake is a Tolo plus.
He absolutely is.
Had to go there.
That's right. It's the Get Right here on 105 through the Fan. Thanks for hanging out with us. Blake said, I saw SGA. There you go. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 105 through the Fan. Coming up next, it's a later time than usual, but we still get you some CA Stories Confidential.
Guess what?
What's that?
It's the birthday of a very famous name in the world of movies and sports. I pity the fool. Next
Okay.
on 105 through the Fan.
More and more of you are turning us on.
Back to the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Frankel & Frankel. If you've been injured in a car or truck wreck, call Frankel first. 214 or 817-333-3333. With Frankel & Frankel, there is never an out-of-pocket cost. They only get paid when you win. Frankel & Frankel, the go-to car and truck wreck attorneys in Dallas.
Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. My name is Reginald Datatula, joined alongside by the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rolling with us on this Tuesday evening in the Metroplex. And without further ado, time to get you some CA Stories Confidential.
Appreciate you, Reg. Appreciate you, Ross. Appreciate all the Tolos for allowing me to share some of these stories from all these years covering sports and entertainment and all these different things over the years. There's no me without you. And thanks to you guys, I've had a wonderful, fun career. It is the birthday of a guy named Mr. T. And I got some Mr. T stories for you. First of all, happy birthday to Mr. T. He is 72. Are you familiar with the fine work of Mr. T, Reg? I'm sure you are.
I'm familiar with it a little bit. I mean, he was the guy in the Skechers ads recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kidding. Obviously, he did the A-Team. He showed up in the Rocky films.
Yes. When he first started, he was a bodyguard for Diana Ross.
Okay. I don't think I realized that.
Then he was in these bouncer competitions because he was a bouncer at the clubs, like in Chicago and stuff. And he was on a national America's Best Bouncer or something like that. And that's where like Sylvester Stallone kind of discovered him and said, you know what? I'm going to put him in the Rocky movies. And I'm going to fight him, Clubber Lang. And he had that mohawk. Back then, nobody had a mohawk. No. White guys didn't have a mohawk. Brothers didn't have a mohawk. Mr. T had a mohawk. Brothers did have chains. We had lots of chains.
He had so many chains. I mean, for the time, obviously, we've advanced chain technology now.
One chain. In the 70s, he had one chain.
That's right.
With a medallion on it. Now we got big, thick rope chains, right? Some people got, all kinds of diamonds on their chains. Mr. T had big gold chains. And he wasn't that tall. Okay, so I met him, back in the day, K104, everybody came through K104.
That's right.
And Tom Joyner was flying back and forth to Chicago, to Dallas, and Mr. T is from Chicago. And his real name is, I want to say his real name is, I'm going to tell you right now. His name is Lawrence Tyrrell. And he legally changed it to Mr. T. He really did change his name to Mr. T.
That's right.
His name was Lawrence Tyrrell.
You're right. That is correct. That is what shows up on Wikipedia as far as I know.
Well, when he came to Dallas and came on our show, everybody's like, it's Mr. T. And he's Mr. T from the Rocky movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the biggest. You think Mike Tyson was the baddest man on the planet? In the Rocky movie, Rocky 3, Mr. T was the baddest man on the planet. He played Clubber Lang. And we got the audio. This is what he said to Rocky in the weigh-in, and this was scared everybody of Mr. T.
No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool, and I will destroy any man who tries to take what I got.
What's your prediction for the fight then?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
There it is.
And his whole thing was, I pity the fool, I pity the fool, I pity the fool. And all I could tell you was, he was like, he wasn't 6 foot tall, but he had a look. But he was nicest guy.
Apparently, according to Wikipedia, he was billed at 5'10".
Yeah, I know he wasn't 6 foot. Okay, so we did.
Oh, didn't realize that he apparently got a football scholarship to Prairie View A&M.
Look out.
Look at that.
Look out.
Shout out to the HBCUs.
So check this out. I knew he said he played a little football, not pros, but he played a little football. But he was a bouncer, and he was the bodyguard for Diana Ross. And he was telling us stuff on the show. We interviewed him and all that. And then I also ran into him in L.A. Oh, he also, when Tom Joyner went on vacation, he filled in for Tom. So we did the show. Yeah, so we did a show together. But he also came back again, and we did a show at Fair Park. We called it a breakfast show. And we had like Mr. T there, me and Tom Joyner, and Cindy B, and Norman Hall, and we had also LL Cool J was there.
Wow. Y'all had all the stars.
Yeah. And back in the day, I interviewed LL Cool J for my show on the Beam.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever hear me do that interview?
Yeah. Oh, I don't think I can't recall.
Well, I've got the audio. Here's a chunk of me talking to LL Cool J on my show.
Let's talk about you a little bit. They tell me that LL stands for Ladies Love Cool James. How'd you come up with that?
Well, LL really stands for Ladies Love Legend and Leather, long and lean, love up ladies, last to red hot lovers, looking for a little, looking, learning, the one you're liking. A lot of L's, you know what I'm saying? As far as the ladies love part goes, this girl one time, she said to me, "Oh, you swear the ladies love Cool J?" I said, "Yeah, they do. They do." So I just made that my name, you know what I'm saying?
I heard that. I heard that.
Spider every day in the park.
Gosh, I forgot LL used to talk. I mean, he's still to this day.
He's a legend.
He talks cold cash.
Yes, he does. He's a legend. So back to Mr. T. I ran into him out of nowhere. I'm covering the World Series. The Dodgers, this is the Dodgers versus the Oakland A's. This is when Kirk Gibson hit that home run. And I'm covering the World Series, and I'm out there in LA. And I'm coming back in between games, and Randy Galloway gives me a ride, and he got some kind of taxi cab or limo or something. I can't remember if it was limo. It's just taxi cab, I think.
Okay.
He said, "Let's go back. Hey, Chris, let's go back to Dallas. I give you a ride in my car." And we're on the same flight and everything. So we go to the airport, and I kid you not, we run into Mr. T. Well, I just seen Mr. T a couple of weeks earlier in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
"What's up, T?" "Oh, man, what's going on, man? Let's go see you." And Randy Galloway's jaw just dropped. He couldn't believe that I knew Mr. T.
Right.
Yeah. And I said, "Where you headed?" "Oh, I'm headed to Chicago, and I got some luggage right here." And I said, "You need some help?" He goes, "No, I got this." He had this big gym bag. It had nothing but free weights in it. I swear to God.
He traveled with the free weights. Okay.
Free weights. And of course, he was wearing his big gold chain and stuff.
Got to.
He even had a bodyguard with him. Somebody to bodyguard him.
Sure.
And I introduced him to Galloway, and Galloway was like, he was chomping on the big old cigar. I can't believe I'm meeting Mr. T. Chris Arnold introduced me to Mr. T. So I always.
You got some good impersonations in there, too. I don't think people appreciate how good those are.
All I can say was, Galloway, I introduced Galloway to Mr. T. Mr. T was a cool guy to this. I haven't seen him in years and years and years. But like I said, we did a breakfast show at Fair Park. We also did at the, I forget, Dos Equis, is that what they call it now? I can't remember what they call it nowadays.
I honestly don't remember.
See the bands playing stuff. But Mr. T was just a great guy. And he's like, he kind of became more religious. And by the way, he did a TV show. You mentioned the A-Team. He was Baracus, B.A. Baracus.
Yes, sir.
And he was on there with George Papard for a while. And like I said, he was larger than life. And then he kind of disappeared and he lost some weight.
He did some wrestling. I didn't realize. I mean, obviously, there's going to be people that are like, "How'd you not know?" I just did not recall.
You got to delve into all that stuff.
That's right. He's just exists as a celebrity in my mind. Like, obviously, there's the instances of his fame where we could talk about the various TV shows, movies, whatever. He just exists as like a celebrity in my brain, which is like that's just one of those people that you know.
Yeah, it's Mr. T.
Yeah, it's just Mr. T. Like, from awesome. What? I mean, I guess he did the A-Team and he was Clubber Lang and all that, but like he's just Mr. T.
Yeah, he's Mr. T. And he still got the mohawk. And like you say, does sketchers. Tony Romo does sketchers as well. All I got to say is happy birthday to Mr. T. He's 72 years old. And again, he's not way religious, but he's like more religious nowadays. Back then, he's just a badass. And BA standing for badass on BA Baracus.
Apparently, also, I mean, went to Prairie View A&M. Also enlisted in the Army and tried out for the Packers at one point. Unfortunately, he failed due to a knee injury. But yeah.
And he loves sports and stuff. But again, he was, he said, "I pity the fool." That was his claim to fame. I pity the fool. And I pity the fool. He'd always say that. And and he didn't. And he didn't just say it in the Rocky movie. I think he said that on that great America's Greatest Bouncer thing or something. The first time he ever said it. I pity the fool. He ain't gonna beat me.
Right, and nobody should pity him. He's lived quite a life at 72. From the 806, most guys have stories where they once saw a celebrity somewhere. CA hung out with the absolute legends multiple times.
It's crazy.
The thought of Galloway and Mr. T hanging out is amazing.
Yeah, anybody runs into Galloway, just say, "Did Chris Arnold introduce you to Mr. T?" And he'll say, "Oh yeah, we was covering the Dodgers and we're at the LAX and there's Mr. T. All that luggage is full of weights."
That is fair. The thought that the 806 brings up there, just like oftentimes, or maybe I shouldn't say oftentimes, but sometimes you just think of like, how weird would it be if those two people were in the same place? And I imagine you've got to have so many of those in your repertoire.
Crazy stories. But that's one of them. CA Stories Confidential.
Always appreciate you letting us relive some of your fun moments in life, CA, through a little CA Stories Confidential. And of course, big salute to the man himself, Mr. T.
Happy birthday.
On his 72nd birthday. It's the Get Right here on 105 through the Fan. Been a fun evening thus far, even though it started with the Rangers falling to the Phillies 5-2 earlier. But with all that being said, we got one more segment. It's called The Final Call, and we'll do it next on The Fan.
Getting quality employees to fill positions.
Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Atatula here with you alongside the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Much appreciation, I should say, to Ross Lubinsky on the ones and twos, making it sound good all evening. And thanks to you, rolling with us all evening long here on your home of the Dallas Cowboys and World Series champion Texas Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. It's the final call here on the Get Right as we send you into, I guess, a new day. Going up till midnight is a little different in this way.
Let's do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we will. After earlier today, we saw the Rangers begin their series with the Phillies in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, they fall 5-2. Ranger Suarez was incredible for the Phillies. 108 pitches, 7 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts.
Best
But
pitcher in baseball right now, man.
He
9-0.
really has been incredible.
And he's the first player to ever play against the Rangers named Ranger, and he's undefeated.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair in that regard. John Gray pitched pretty well, went 5 innings. However, in the course of that, he actually hurt himself a little bit. He came out, and I believe that the information that we got, the reporting that we saw, said that he had a right groin tightness.
Ouch.
After 75 pitches.
Yikes.
We don't know what that'll mean.
Yikes.
Hopefully that won't mean anything major for him. But the way that the season is gone, you kind of have to cross your fingers, hold your breath a little bit, and hope that John Gray is good, as he was doing pretty solid. Dane Dunning will be activated from IL tomorrow, so he's going to start tomorrow on the mound for the Rangers. Facing off against Taijuan Walker, who will be the pitcher for the Rangers, a righty, the first of a line of 5 righties that the Rangers will face. So hopefully that might see the Rangers hit the ball a little bit better throughout the course of that game, as they're going to need it. They have fallen behind a little bit when it comes to the race in the AL West. It's still very early, but staying attached is the name of the game during the course of all the adversity. Currently 3 games behind the Mariners, who they got to win today, and only 2 games ahead of the Astros, who they also got to win today. They are doing a little bit of creeping and getting back to, I guess, some level of what their form, or what we anticipated their form being. So yeah, man, Rangers, you really hope that they get a win, because also for the first time in Bruce Bochy's tenure, they've fallen below 500. 24-25 is the record right now. Getting back to 500 tomorrow would be nice.
Yeah, first time ever. Again, everybody know the adversity they're going through. The only thing you have to hope for is that they stay in the hunt until the cavalry comes. And the cavalry could be more pitching arms, but we more importantly are looking at the bats to start lighting up, because for the first time, this Rangers team under Bochy can't seem to hit lefties. And Evan Grant wrote an article about this over the weekend where he's talking about, crazy as it seems, but the team that dominated lefties last year, 4th best in the majors against left-handed pitchers, they are like struggling, so much so that opposing managers, opposing teams are making sure that the Rangers face a lefty before their series is over. And that's because they just can't seem to hit them. And it's the guy that used to break up the lefties was Josh Young.
He's one of them. I mean, in addition to Adolis typically always hits well. Seager typically always hits hell.
Seager had a slow start.
I mean, Nathaniel Lowe typically hits pretty. Like, you have guys that you really
the only guy that struggled was Evan Carter.
Yeah.
Evan Carter, he struggled. And they were like, where will we put him in the lineup? Is he going to bat 3rd? Is he going to bat 4th? Just depending on the lefties out there. That was the only thing you had worried about going into the season. And now it's like, that's the elephant in the room. Lefties.
Yeah, you definitely want to take care of the game tomorrow if possible, because you'll see Zach Wheeler on Thursday in the day game, the getaway game. So I mean, that's a tough pitcher as well. I'm not saying that you can't beat him and he can't be hit, but that is
Phillies
also
are for real. 35-14, best record in Major League Baseball. They did not go to the World Series last year. Arizona beat them, but the year before they were right there. This team's on a mission. I'm talking about Bryce Harper and them trying to get back to the World Series. And the Rangers lose to the Phillies for the first time since 2014. Yeah, Ranger beat the Rangers, and it was the first time the Phillies hadn't beaten the Rangers. Like I said, it's not like they're an American League team.
I think it was like 12. 12
since
games.
2014.
So, yeah, historic in maybe some bad ways for the Rangers, but still, it's a 3-game set. You play again tomorrow.
Long season.
There's a lot of these games, and tomorrow we'll hear that right here on your home of the Rangers 105 through the Fan. Tomorrow also, you will see your Mavericks begin the Western Conference Finals against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're in Minnesota. That's a 7:30 tip, and it is a game one. And one thing, one of the stats that you know, Jason Kidd hasn't fared all that well in game ones with his time here in Dallas.
He hadn't won.
Yeah.
Here's what's wild. The Mavericks, since they won the championship, are 1-11 in game ones of playoff series. Period. Not just Jason Kidd.
That goes back with Carlisle as well.
All of them. It's just the Rangers. It's like, the Mavericks. It's like the Mavericks. Like, how come y'all can't win a game one? Well, a lot of these games ones are on the road.
Well, there's that. But I mean, like, you see situations where they probably should be able to win, regardless.
Regardless, they haven't done it.
You have a game one tomorrow, and there was media availability earlier today. Jason Kidd was asked about this. Jason Kidd, how do you avoid a slow start in game one?
We're going to try our best not to have a slow start. Game ones have always been a struggle for us, so hopefully we can turn that around in this series. We'll get an opportunity tomorrow night. But playing in Minnesota is a tough place to play. The crowd is on top of you. It's a great atmosphere, and they got a really good team, and they're well coached. So we got our work cut out, but we definitely know that we've gotten off to slow starts in series. So we want to try to change that tomorrow.
Here's the other thing. The good part for Maverick fans, even if they were to lose this game one, they have not lost 2 games in a row in the playoffs this year.
That is correct.
They have not. And all I can tell you is you should try to steal one of these 2 games because Minnesota is vulnerable. They just come off of a rough 7-game series against the defending world champion Denver Nuggets. If you're going to get past them, you want to steal one of these first 2.
Real quick, before we go, I just want to get a little bit more of this Kidd audio win because obviously they went through 2 series. He was asked, and I thought this was an interesting question, what did you learn about your team in the first 2 series that maybe could help you in this next one?
Yeah, I think just understanding, their ability to, execute the game plan and being able to pivot if things aren't going well or things we need to make a change. Just understanding that group can make that change on the run. Understanding that we've been down in the sense of 30-some points to come back to take a lead, to be down 16 at half in Game 6, and to work the game to still believe that we can win. And so there's a lot of trust, a lot of belief in one another, and I think it's a fun group to be around.
Yeah, a lot of belief. Never give up. They make the adjustments well. They're going to miss Maxi Kleber in this series, though, because he was able to take Rudy Gobert 2 years ago out to the perimeter when they beat the Utah Jazz, when Rudy and
they were
Mike
able to
Conley,
play 5 out.
Yeah. So they're going to miss him, and Minnesota's got such size, but I'm still taking the Mavs in 7.
It'll be really fun to see, and I mean, yeah, he's right. They have adjusted very well. I think one of the big things he talked about adjustment-wise, though, was making sure that the physicality of the game, adjusting to the whistle, right? If they'll let you play physical, play physical.
Yeah.
If they won't, move your feet, stay in front.
Right.
So that's going to be something that's interesting to see
Don't
tomorrow.
fall for the head fakes.
That's right, and I think there's less of that with this series compared to the first 2, where you had guys that were really good at manipulating the refs and the whistle. A little bit of fun audio I'd like to get you here. If you are a fan of the UFL and the Arlington Renegades.
The world champion, defending world champion.
And the reigning world champion, or I mean, are we taking that across the world?
We got
the UFL.
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm just saying, it's like World Series champion.
I don't know.
Super Bowl champion, NBA Final champion, Stanley Cup champion.
But yeah, they played this past week against the San Antonio Brahmas. They got a loss, unfortunately. However, there was a funny moment in the course of this game where, and we got some audio from the UFL's social media accounts, in which their quarterback, and help me with the name because I forgot. Actually, I have it in front of me now. I look at it. Lindsey Scott Jr. He got onto the sideline, and he's mic'd up during the course of this game. So he gets to the sideline. He's talking with another quarterback on the team and kind of giving the play-by-play of what happened on a play where he was running the football and people were trying to take the football from him.
Hey, the funny part is I'm holding the ball like this, and they're just punching, and I'm like, yeah, I might as well stop trying. I ain't gonna fumble. And somebody came and said, no. I need that clip, bro. I need a mic'd up clip. I ain't gonna fumble.
And here's the mic'd up clip.
Oh, shit. Yeah, get in that. You get in that. Oh, she got it.
If you couldn't hear that, that was him in the middle of the play as he's being wrapped up, and there's players tugging at the football saying, "You're not going to get that bleep. You're not going to get that bleep." And then realizing, oh, bleep, he got it.
I love the live audio.
Oh, man. Just give me more mic'd up players. It's always fun when you get mic'd up players, especially when you have those moments where the player realizes, oh, this is not going the way that I had anticipated. Hopefully you don't have any of those moments with the Mavs tomorrow, with the Rangers tomorrow, because those are your DFW actives tomorrow. And it's going to be a fun day, all the way from the start of the day at 5:30 a.m. all the way till when we come on after the Rangers take you to midnight tomorrow evening.
And be so glad that you're not watching the Stars at the same time as the Mavericks. The Stars will play the next night. It's going to be so wonderful back to back as opposed to at the same time.
That's right.
Playoff action.
That's right. It's going to be a fun day. And then don't forget, again, this weekend, myself, Corey Majors, Kevin Hagelin, Brian Broadus, Bobby Belt, and also Gavin Spittle, all going to be at Revolver Brewing in Granbury for a fan hang 1 to 4 p.m. So yeah, start making plans to hang out with us in Granbury. It's a fan hang. It's always a pleasure. CA, you'll be back tomorrow evening. Ross will be back tomorrow evening. And so we'll have the group together again after Rangers baseball till midnight. But make sure you keep it locked to 105 through the fan all the way through the lineup. But until tomorrow, y'all be easy. Peace!
You may not think what we say is smart, but it's coming over.